Hey, J-Bone Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester. The court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
Up, everybody. You're muted, Bobby Digital.
Oh, thanks, Shaybird. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning, fam.
Welcome back.
We're back at it, Jaybird.
Back at it. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. If you're just catching up, or if you missed some of last week, they had a half day for Chad Daybell, and now we're back to a full day, but we're also back to possibly the final day of jury selection in the Karen Reed case. So again, we might pivot over. Well, we are going to pivot over to that once they start. I don't know if it might be tomorrow, if they're done today, might be Wednesday, but we'll let you guys know.
Yeah, I heard some weird shit over the weekend. Like, you never know what's like. There's so much noise around that case, but there was some kind of chatter about like somebody went on to either Turtle Boy's show or something about like it was one of the prospective jurors. I guess it didn't make the cut, and they said some shit, and somebody else said some shit. You know, it's like you just never know. We're gonna stick to just the facts. We'll keep an eye on it for y'all. We'll let you know. As far as I'm concerned, it's proceeding business as usual this morning. I think, Jay, what do they have? 4 left to pick?
4 left.
Like. So if they get that done today, I think we got opening statements tomorrow. I think that's what's going down, man.
Look at Meg P coming in hot, gifting out 5 Defense Diary membership. Thank you, Meg P.
Always give her.
Always give her is right.
Wonder mod. Like wonderful human being all around. We love you, Meg. Thanks so much. Thank you. So, Jay, how was the weekend, man? Heard you had some banger shows.
I had a couple of shows. I want to talk to you about this because I want to know, like, so I had 2 shows. If you guys didn't catch them, I had one where I went through Dan Markel and Wendy Adelson's divorce documents. And then yesterday I had one with Jack, Never a True Word, and Julia Cali, where we broke down, where they broke down. I just watched Wendy Adelson's police interview.
Idly by.
I just kind of let them talk and give their. But how do you
the best though? You know.
Oh, they were so good. But like, I'm curious to get your thoughts on like. I did not feel like I felt really good after yesterday's show, but like Saturday show, my fault. Katie was on with me. Katie Bogenschutz is brilliant, but like I screwed up a little bit with the PDF where the document I sorted it by like Wendy's motion, Dan's motion, but I didn't sort it by like chronologically, so it could have been better. You know what I mean? Like, do you ever have that feeling where you're like, it was okay?
But you're asking me if I've ever had that feeling, Jay? I've been like on live for like an hour trying to get documents up. I've been on live where I'm not live. Yeah. Yes, Jay. I've definitely had that feeling, brother.
You know, I was like, I could have done better. I still think it was good content because Katie is brilliant. By the way, Bob, I asked her, I'm like, have you been following the Karen Reed case? And if you guys don't know Katie Bogenschutz, she's a former prosecutor. a all-around badass. But I was like, maybe you come on with us a little bit. She said she would with Karen Reed. She's
That'd
not
be awesome.
familiar, but she's going to look into it. She saw Shannon's fashion post, and she's like, I'm going to look into this. But yesterday, like, just felt it was one of those, I think, possibly the best live that I've done since I've been streaming. Top 5, because just Julia and Jack were just so insightful. Yeah, and it was like, and it was interesting, Bob, because, and by the way, you know, Julia's a profiler. As people are like, well, this is evidence. It's not evidence per se, where they're not gonna, like, you know this, Bob, like a prosecutor's not going to call a profiler. However, a prosecutor might review what a profiler, like, analysis or someone's speech analysis, you know, like Jack does, and say, hey, I might look into this a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, they're not witnesses, but their insight was just, it was really good.
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna replay crew that for sure. Definitely.
Thank you, Lisa. So yeah, that everyone who was there, I appreciate everyone who commented. I saw Sarah, one of our great mods, she does something which we would love you guys to do, which is not only if you comment, but what helps the algorithm is if you see other people's comments and, like, you reply to them. It helps us. Like, all the comments on the videos are things that, like, tell YouTube that people are interested. And when YouTube finds out the people interested, they try to, like, expand the audience to people that maybe aren't our typical subs. So that's what we're trying to do. You know, you guys helping us with that, we really appreciate it.
It's huge. I mean, it's like old school, you know, just giving a good word. You know, it's like like referrals, like old school. It's like the modern day version of referrals. Right. It's like, you know, like, oh yeah, I know. Like, I was at Best Buy yesterday. So how do I look? Clear?
Wait, you got the adapter? You look clear, dude. Crystal. You're like,
I was excited.
Internet, you're like in the direct connection.
I'm like, great. I got the Ethernet. So hopefully my days of super shitty pixelization and Wi-Fi connection are over. I mean, it looks pretty clear, man.
Yeah,
I mean, from what I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm excited. Yeah, I got one for Allie for downstairs too. So yeah, I'm excited about that side of it. You know, but like, just to kind of build upon what you were saying, Jay, like yesterday I was in Best Buy, I was buying the adapter for the Mac for the Ethernet cable. And, you know, the guy's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I've got a podcast and I'm a YouTube streamer. And I was like, you know, I've been struggling with this. And, you know, and he's like, oh yeah, my buddy, you know, he's been working, you know, the algorithm for YouTube for a company for like 10 years. So I'm like, oh, no shit, man. I'm like, gave him my number. I'm like, look, if he's ever going to branch out, you know, we're always looking for people that can help us, you know, get the shows out to everybody, you know. So it's like, it's the same concept as that. You know, if you know somebody, you got friends, family that you think might enjoy the content, spread the word. It helps us. Like, Jay and I just don't have the budgets to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get this out there. So we rely on you guys, and that's why we love you so much.
And another reason we love them, and also our mods, I'll tell you this, I posted this to our mods. I sent a screenshot, and maybe I'll share it during. I have a fan mail segment where I talk about people who, like, get really mad at me, but I also put comment. But Bob, we had this comment, and I know you love these too. It was during my first live, and she said, hey, she just said, like, hey, what's up? And she was like, you know, I first, before I ever, like, really subscribe to a channel, I go to a couple streams and just check out, like, how the chat is, and I appreciate, like, I feel safe in here. And, like, for first of all, for our mods who force that environment, you know, help, and you guys that are here that, like, don't let any of that shit go. So
we don't want to say force that they
foster.
Exactly. They foster that environment. Yes, that's what we do.
We appreciate.
I mean, we're a fam. Like, you know, there's a reason that I call us fam, and, you know, that's genuinely how we feel about it. So we adore y'all that are in here daily with us, and we adore you that are just coming in and peeking your heads in, and hopefully you get that vibe real quickly that this is just a great community, and you don't need to be nervous and lurk. You know, make comments, join in. We love it. We love the engagement. All of us do. And you'll see if you just are watching the chat, like, we've got the best community out there. So
particularly when we got one of the most vitriol, one of the most, like, this case, this Karen Reed case, we just know that there's gonna, and there was, even when we did a live, there was some stuff in there, but you probably guys didn't even see it if it was bad, because our mods are so freaking quick they get that shit out of there. So,
Oh,
and by the
well,
way,
I just saw people giving Shannon shit, man.
yeah,
Like
it's crazy.
People don't understand, man. Like if people come after our women, like I don't fuck with that. No one comes
No.
after our women, dude.
It's wild,
Like,
Bob. It's wild because she didn't say, "Here's the innocent Karen Reed," or "Here's the
there was
guilty."
no comment whatsoever.
No comment. It was, "This is the outfit she's wearing," and she's been doing it for like a bunch of trials. She does it for
And
defendants.
I love it.
Yeah, people. Yeah,
I
it's
love
cool.
it.
It's a cool. I think a cool
I think it's
concept.
great. I've asked her. I'm like, Shans, like what? Like immediately as soon as I saw the suit for Hannah's lawyer, I'm like, Shannon, tell me about this thing. What am I looking at right here? And boom, like I get
and
it.
these people are coming at her like, and it's and they're like calling out her credibility as like a therapist and like all this stuff. It's like she didn't say anything. So anyway, we're gonna keep that out of here. We're gonna make sure that,
Right. Yeah, we're gonna keep the toxicity out there in the big world.
By
So
the way,
where did we leave off?
that's what I was just gonna
Who
say.
was our last? Who
It's
was our last witness?
This Special Agent Hart, who kind of I think is putting together.
Yes. He's the iCloud guy. Lots of
Right.
iCloud facts for us here. Should keep like we felt the momentum building last week when they got a couple of the bigger witnesses on. I fully anticipate that we'll be. It would be great. It would be great if they threw Zulema on after this agent, because she's just like, if you haven't followed like Lori's trial, like your mind's gonna be blown, because she just like she was way more candid, at least in Lori's trial, just about how she got hoodwinked. You know what I mean? Like how she was all in on this shit, that she believed every word they said. And then when it started to become evident to her, which was hard, you know, it's like when you have this thing where you're all in on a concept and your faith is just complete, like, and we're talking faith, when your faith is there, you know, to like battle yourself to get out of that mindset is incredibly difficult, you know. So it took her like a long time, because like with Melanie Gibb, it was like she kind of had like a boop, a moment, you know, like an epiphany, like, oh my God, like what is going on here? Plus, I think there was a jealousy thing going on between Melanie and Lori. I think she started to see Lori for what she was genuinely, which was a massive narcissist.
Right.
And I think that started to grind on her.
By the way, as they're setting up here, I was looking at the calendar. I'm like, holy shit, it's April 26th. When does Delphi start? Man, that is right
we
around
are
the
on
corner,
the record on case CR 22-21-1623. This is Monday morning after the weekend break. The court has confirmed that all jurors have returned and are properly seated and present. I'll also note the court received the juror affirmation from all 18 of the jurors. So thank you again for following the court's continuing admonishment and instruction during the breaks. We're ready to continue with direct examination this morning. I'll note the state is here present. Prosecutors Wood and Blake, Mr. Wixom and Ms. Beatty, as well as Mr. Pryor here with the defendant, Mr. Daybell. Officer Hart was on direct examination as we broke for the weekend, and I believe the state has additional direct. Is that correct, Ms. Blake?
That is correct, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. If you'd go ahead and call your witness, then we'll have him return to the stand.
The state will call Agent Hart.
By the way, folks, again, just a reminder, I'm going to keep the top left corner of your screen. I got Bob's link tree. I'll like change between his and mine. If you want to scan that, check out Bob's podcast. All the links are there, or they'll be in the chat too. But
yeah, I think we're dropping a new Garcia and Patreon today.
Nice.
That might actually even be in there.
All right. Thank you. Agent Hart, you are still.
Yeah, we love our patrons, so
massively.
Definitely check that out.
I mean, like our Patreon is what kept the pot afloat for the first year and a half, man. I mean, without that, I don't know that I could have kept doing it.
Purposes of your testimony, that oath was given last week. In addition, I'll just inquire over the weekend, or since you were on the stand, have you reviewed any of this trial that's been is available online and has been live streamed? Have you reviewed any of the testimony of the trial?
No, Your Honor.
All right. With that then, Ms. Blake, you can continue on your direct.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I do have a modified slide, a courtesy copy for the
Modified.
court, and one for Your Honor as well. Or
Modified.
one for the court and one for Your Honor.
Modified what?
Here, I'm going to show
Defense
you.
has already been provided one.
That's the name of our production company, Modified Sound. Except
Oh,
it's
modified.
MOTTAFIE.
And Your Honor, this is part of
See what we
State's
did there?
Exhibit
That's
183.
great.
May I
Like
publish that exhibit?
moderator, Armada, love that.
Exactly. They're all good.
Yes, and just to be clear,
Oh,
the
thanks.
identifier
Thanks, Amber.
information's been redacted on what's going to be published.
Correct, Your Honor.
Yes, you may publish.
YouTube does take a big bite.
And they could take it off if they want, which I am always scared.
Agent Hart, we were here last Friday, and we had been talking about some texts exchanged regarding Charles' death. Do you recall that?
I do.
And do you recall talking about the beneficiary in relation to Charles' death?
Yes, there had been a series of text messages between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell that indicated Lori Vallow had found out that her husband, Charles Vallow, had changed the beneficiary of his life insurance policy.
And the images on this slide, is that what we're seeing here?
Well, previously there were text messages, and then approximately 2 weeks, 10 days later, Lori Vallow sent 2 MMS messages to Chad Daybell on July 28th of 2019. The one on the left is the original life insurance policy that shows Lori Vallow, his spouse, as the beneficiary to receive 100% of the proceeds of that policy. And this one over here shows the change in beneficiary to Ella K. Woodcock and the date that that was done.
And do you know who Ella K. Woodcock is in relation to Charles Vallow?
It's his sister.
And do you know who she is in relation to JJ Vallow?
She would be JJ's grandmother.
And again, these messages were sent to Chad Daybell.
By Lori Vallow, correct.
And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to pause here and allow the jurors to read. And Agent Hart, when we look at these messages, we'd talked before, there were additional messages in the iCloud account. Is that correct?
There are thousands of text messages in the iClouds, yes.
And with these particular messages, were there some preceding messages in relation to these?
Chronologically, yes, there were.
And when we're looking at these messages, do you know who the Mel is that's being referred to?
Yes, that's Melanie Boudreau, Lori Vallow's niece.
And what was it about these particular messages that caught your attention?
What caught my attention was the conflict that existed between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell as it relates to their relationship. At this point, Charles Vallow has been dead for almost a month, and Lori Vallow wants her and Melanie Boudreau to travel to Rexburg, Idaho to spend time with Chad Daybell. Chad Daybell is, of course, still married to Tammy Daybell, and so that
It's sustained.
So you were indicating that Melanie Boudreau and Lori were wanting to go to Rexburg to visit Chad.
correct.
And can you read the date on these messages into the record?
The date of this text string is August 7th of 2019.
And then at the bottom, are there some that carry into the next day?
Correct, August 8th of 2019.
During this time, do you know if Tammy Daybell was still alive?
She was.
So in this context, it appears that Lori's telling Melanie, we just had a big fight. Do you know who that's in reference to?
That's in reference to Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell.
And at this time, Charles has been dead for not quite a month.
Correct.
What else about these stood out to you?
There's a conflict between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell regarding.
I think there's inadequate foundation at that point. Mr. Pryor, moving forward on your objections, please use the microphone.
Use your fucking mic, dude. Jeez.
Go ahead, Ms. Blake.
Agent Hart, again, you've talked about you went through thousands of messages in this iCloud account, or that there were thousands of messages, correct?
Yes.
Were there some messages preceding this indicating what Chad's plans were during this time?
Yes.
And what did those messages indicate?
Chad Daybell had a.
All right, again, into the microphone, please, Mr. Pryor, or maybe your mic's not on today, but.
Come on, Pryor.
Okay, could we get that
Your
checked,
ass.
please, to make sure the microphone is functioning at defense table?
Is this thing on? Hello? Hello? I'm not a cat. Your Honor, I'm not a cat.
This is 30.
Your world frightens and confuses me.
Okay, apologies. Ms. Blake, would you ask another question? I'll defer ruling on that objection. Go ahead.
Agent Hart, did you review messages that indicated what Chad's plans were during this time frame?
Yes, it's a scheduling conflict. Lori Vallow wanted to visit Chad Daybell.
Judge, I'm going to object. It's unresponsive.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Well, I'll sustain the objection because the answer was what Chad's plan. The question was what were Chad's plans, and the answer was what Lori Vallow wanted. I think that's outside the scope of the question and the foundation that's been laid. So it's non-responsive.
Voice.
You determined that Chad Daybell had different plans during this time?
Judge, objection. That's leading.
Your Honor, he's already answered that.
Overruled.
Pryor's on fire.
Yes, he had a family vacation planned.
So in reference to the big fight, based on your investigation, were you able to determine what this text thread was about?
Yes.
And what did you determine the fight to be about?
Lori Vallow's trip, which conflicted with Chad Daybell's family vacation.
And when we look at those last three messages, did anything about those catch your attention?
I wish we could see the screen.
From the content of the iCloud, this was the first big fight they had had. And it appeared that they were at odds with one another. And Chad Daybell's comments was that his heart was crushed and he would never stop loving her.
And if we go to the next slide, again, I'm going to pause to allow the jurors to read.
While they're reading, guys, if you could hit that like button, get this thing in the algorithm, we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I've got, let's see, let me refresh here. I've currently got 161 watching and 80 likes. I mean, I feel like we can do better. I don't know.
I have 162. We are like exact viewers. Let me see how many likes I got here. 104, not bad. Good job, guys. Keep it up.
I mean, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Mine's kind of depressing, Jay.
They're gonna do it now. Don't you worry.
At a 50% rate. Oh, it went up 7. That's good. It's always good. Jewish guilt works.
Yeah, we're not trying to be annoying, guys. It just helps us get in the algorithm. By the way, for folks who celebrate Passover,
yes,
starts tonight.
And Agent Hart, can you indicate the date of these text messages?
Yes, it's towards the end of the day on August 8th of 2019.
Is this a continuation from the conversation we saw on the previous slide?
Correct.
In looking at this, was there something that stood out to you?
Yes.
And what was that?
If you look at the date and the time, you can see that Lori Vallow has ceased to communicate with Chad Daybell for approximately a day. And this lengthy text, line 1300, is a very clear example of how Chad Daybell used his supposed visionary powers to manipulate Lori Vallow.
Judge, I'm going to object. Calls for speculation.
Overruled.
And in this, sorry, let me back up.
By the way, it's also Earth Day.
In that
for
first
folks
message as well.
who know, that happens to be Wendy Adelson's birthday, so I hope her birthday is terrible.
From Chad to Lori, can you read the second sentence of that?
Saddest day of my life.
And again, you indicated Lori had quit communicating with him after the previous message that we saw.
That's correct. So there had been no communication from Lori Vallow to Chad Daybell on August 8th of 2019.
And after Chad sends that lengthy text, it appears Lori resumes communication. Is that correct?
Yes.
And can you read into the record what she said?
I love you.
And then Chad responds just,
thank you, my love. I will get things restored.
so in that lengthy one, he indicated that he may not be able to protect her anymore.
Correct. Grandpa Keith is Lori's deceased grandfather. So Chad Daybell is indicating to Lori Vallow that he is unable to protect her and that the angels are angry that she is ignoring him. And so he is trying to get her to respond due to those indication of what's happening spiritually.
And then once she does respond, Chad will get things restored.
That's what he indicates, yes.
Then if we move to the next slide, I'm going to pause to allow the jurors to read.
"91 strong." I'm checking the Karen Reed journalist. There's 91 there seated in the courtroom. I'm going to guess.
And will you
we're gonna get
indicate the date this message was sent?
This is August 10th of 2019.
And what about this particular message stood out to you?
Well, I think this is an example of how Lori Vallow manipulates Chad Daybell.
And this image was sent along with the surprises or waiting text. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And again, on August 10th, is Tammy Daybell still alive?
Yes.
Moving to the next slide, and again, I'll pause to allow the jurors to read.
Sorry, did I say 91 journalists? 91 jurors. So I think we're going to...
We knew what you meant, Jay. We knew what you meant.
We're going to get 4 today, I'm thinking.
And if you could read into the record the date these messages were sent.
These are August 10th of 2019.
So these would have been sent after that image that we saw in the previous slide.
Correct.
What, if anything, about these caught your attention?
There had been several messages preceding these two messages indicating their ability to connect spiritually, to enter into portals, to be together outside the physical realm. What stood out to me about these two messages is that both Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell understand that's not real and it's not true. Lori Vallow says, I wish you were really here to experience this with me. And again, saying, I wish I could wake up and kiss your sweet, tender lips for real.
Oh, God.
So to me, that indicated an understanding between being together truly in the physical realm in which we live versus this alleged ability to portal and be with one another spiritually.
I'm going to go in the portal. My loins of fire are feeling very...
And if we go to the
Fiery
next
this
slide,
morning,
again, I'm
Lori.
going to pause to allow the jurors to read.
I gotta get a puke. I gotta get a puke emoji soundbite.
Old pumpkin head.
Well, that's a huge noggin. It's a virtual planetoid. Has its own weather system.
So good. So good.
Thanks for being here, everyone, during this vomit-inducing testimony. If you need a mental health break at this time, we understand. If you need to go puke, we understand.
He is like, this is literally the witness where we're going to get
Can you indicate
all the
the
stuff.
date these messages were sent into the record?
Yes, this is August 11th of 2019.
And what about these particular messages caught your attention?
These 4 messages are the beginning of a text string that occupies this slide and the next 5 slides. And it's a lengthy back and forth between Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow regarding a vacation that Chad Daybell is going on with his wife, Tammy Daybell, and other relatives.
And in relation to that trip, can you read the last sentence of that first text?
Partly why I am so sad is my Boise trip has turned into a trip with extended family. Not happy about it.
And then if we move down to that third message, was there something about that that caught your attention?
Well, these are Chad Daybell's own words. He says, I can't take much more, so trapped. So it's an indication of how he's feeling as it relates to his current situation as it existed on August 11th of 2019.
We move to the next slide, and I'll pause to allow the jurors to read.
All right. While they're reading, I looked up puke, and I always am hesitant to try sound bites before I preview them, but let's see what this is. That didn't sound like a puke. Let's try.
It sounded like somebody had some massive diarrhea.
This one's cat vomit.
Ugh.
I don't even. Let's see this one. This says burp or puke. That's a burp. That's not a puke.
Come on.
What is going on? Get it together.
What's happening?
Let me try again. Maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll try vomit.
Okay, go ahead. And like from down lower.
That's someone talking.
I mean, it's gonna be closer.
What the hell?
Oh, I thought that was a court.
So did I.
And Agent Hart, you indicated this is a continuation from the previous slide. Is that correct?
Yes.
What about these messages caught your attention?
First of all, the date caught my attention. This is 1 month to the day after Charles Vallow had been killed and approximately 10 months into the relationship between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. Subsequent to Charles Vallow's death, the pressure being put by Lori Vallow on Chad Daybell for them to be together increased significantly. And so you see in these messages that Lori Vallow is asking, is that what he wants, for me to sit around waiting for you endlessly and you miserably wasting time? It doesn't feel right. And so these messages are a good indication of their thoughts as it relates to their ability to be together in the current circumstances that they find on that date.
And in that first message, Chad refers to it as torture.
Referring to the 2 days he's going to spend with his family as torture, yes.
And you indicated Charles Vallow's been dead for about a month, correct?
Exactly 1 month.
But Tammy's still alive.
Yes, she is.
I'm moving to the next slide. Again, I'm going to pause to allow the jurors to read.
Great point by T-Ken. So this is where you know they are not delusional, just psychopaths that calculated deaths. Good point, T-Ken. So what's up, Donna? What's up, everybody? Thanks for being here, everybody. Good morning on this Monday, April 22nd.
Good morning. Good morning.
Earth Day.
Earth Day. That was I saw Steve. That used to be like a big deal. Like now kind of flies under the radar a bit, which is a shame. It should still be a big deal.
Agree.
It's the only planet we have.
And Agent Hart, you indicated this is also a continuation from the previous two slides. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
When you look at these particular messages, what stood out to you?
Again, it's a clear communication between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell regarding the status of their relationship.
Good point, Spitfire Dragon, who says, Jay, they can be both delusional and psychopaths.
And Lori Vallow's desire to be together overtly with Chad Daybell.
And when we look at the last message, the response from Chad to Lori, can you read that into the record?
Yes. Oh, honey, that is so crushing. I feel so destroyed inside. You know my love for you is deep and real. I want change. I'm constantly begging for change. I want you. Nothing else matters. But I am hindering your life and you deserve better. I love you so intensely.
And at this point in time, again, Charles died 1 month ago, correct?
Yes.
But Tammy's still alive.
Yes.
And moving to the next slide, again, I'll pause to allow the jurors to read.
Good point by the commenters who are saying, what must Chad's kids think about these messages?
Well, I mean, that's one of the benefits. The kids most likely are not in the courtroom. I mean, it would be hard to believe that they're not aware that these things exist in the world, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Agent Hart, on that previous slide, we'd seen that Chad was begging for change so he could be with Lori. Is that correct?
Yes.
What would need to change so he and Lori could be together?
Judge, objection calls for speculation.
Sustain.
Is that your Bob? Is that someone in the courtroom?
Agent Hart, when we look at this slide, is it a continuation from the last several slides?
Yes.
And it's still on August 11th of 2019.
That's correct.
It's Allie's computer?
Yeah, downstairs. So I guess I guess my direct Wi-Fi connect's really working, Jay.
What about these messages stood out to you?
Yeah.
This demonstrates Lori Vallow's impatience for this plan that I've testified to previously about the life they want to live, where they want to live it, and their plans to be together and conduct missions together. And so Lori wants that to happen. And that can't happen while Tammy Daybell is still married to Chad Daybell.
And again, to remind the jurors, in these messages, did you ever see any indication that Chad was intending to divorce Tammy?
Never.
Did you ever see any indication that Chad was intending to separate from Tammy?
No.
If we go to the next slide, again, I'm going to pause to allow the jurors to read it.
Yeah, sorry guys.
And again, Agent Hart,
If I could, I would try to read them, but it's. I can see Lori Val. You are right.
It's tough. Yeah. Are you going to threaten me?
Put me aside until things change. You know the pain is unbearable.
Are you going to threaten me that I'm unprotected for doing so?
Are you going to threaten? Yeah, that I'm.
Absolutely
That's
not.
right.
I'm so upset at the circumstances that I'm demanding they protect you more than ever.
All right, there you go. That's correct.
this is a continuation from the previous slides. Is that correct?
It is.
What about these particular messages stood out to you?
Previously, on August 8th of 2019, when this conflict about Chad Daybell's family vacation came up, we saw the text message about Grandpa Keith and that the angels were angry that Lori Vallow was ignoring Chad Daybell. The middle line of this text is a reference to that exchange that occurred 3 days previously, where Lori Vallow is now asking Chad Daybell, are you going to threaten me that I'm unprotected for putting Chad Daybell aside? And his response is absolutely not. I'm so upset at the circumstances. I'm demanding they protect you more than ever. So this was a tie back to the August 8th conversation with Chad Daybell.
And again, an indication that Chad Daybell can provide some form of protection.
Correct.
And moving to the next slide, I'm going to pause to allow the jurors to read.
While they read it, I see Donna is here. Donna Barkley. She got some treats for my dogs from my wish list. Thank you so much, Donna.
So sweet.
Let me see if I don't know. Let me see if I hit the zoom in button. What happens here? I don't know if it works with a video. No, it doesn't.
I can read.
Let me see. It's all
I'm
right.
So
Chat.
alone without you, it's devastating. That is from Lori to Chad. And then Chad says,
I feel so alone too. We are surrounded by
Telestial.
Celestial, maybe?
It's he has Telestial relatives
That are simply obstacles. I'm sick of it. So Chad is saying to Lori, I feel so alone. We are surrounded by, I think it's Celestial, but it's relatives that are simply obstacles. I'm so sick of it. Lori says, me too.
Me too. What is it that you really want? See, she's the manipulator in this thing. Like, she's working that. I want to be with you.
That's Chad says, I want to be with you. That is my great hope and dream. I would happily join you tomorrow if I felt like heaven would not strike us down. Oh, wow. Chad says, wow.
Wow.
Is this also a And Agent Hart, is this also a continuation from the previous slides?
Correct. This is the final slide for this text string.
Telestial. Sorry, guys. I messed it up. Bob was right. Telestial relatives. I didn't know
And
that, I didn't know that was a word.
with this one, if we break it down a little bit, looking specifically at that second text from Chad to Lori, are there certain things in that text that stood out to you?
Absolutely.
What were those?
The first is, it's mainly the second sentence. We are surrounded by telestial relatives that are simply obstacles.
Obstacles.
Do you know what the reference telestial relatives would be in relation to? Or actually, let me back up. Through your investigation, did you learn or determine what telestial relatives would be referencing?
Yes.
What did you learn that to be?
The word telestial derives from the LDS faith. It is the lowest level or degree of glory or heaven. And then there are levels above that. So it's a reference to the lowest level of heaven as it's perceived.
And the specific word next
Wait, there are levels to heaven? I did not, or in that faith? That's
to
interesting.
that is relatives.
Yes.
And these telestial relatives are being described as simply obstacles.
Correct.
And then what did Chad say regarding that? What's that next sentence, if you could read it into the record?
I'm so sick of it! Exclamation point.
And there's a response from Lori, but then looking down to the last message from Chad back to Lori, anything about that one that stood out to you?
There's a couple of things that stood out in that last sentence, yes.
And could we go through those one by one?
Yes.
What is the first one?
Chad Daybell states very clearly what his greatest desire is. I
Okay,
want to
pause it
be
for
with
1
you.
second.
That is my greatest hope.
So I don't know, like I'm assuming you're seeing, so the Spitfire Dragon, who's clearly very learned in the ways of LDS, says, Jay, there are 3 levels to heaven. They're describing these relatives as being lower spiritually. Thank you. I always love when the Spitfire Dragon kicks some LDS knowledge. It's super helpful. So thank you for doing that consistently, Dragon.
Yes, thank you. Shelley Tarbert is very good with that too. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
No, and all I'm thinking is, I finally get to fucking heaven, and I'm in the fucking basement with like the drippy water. What do you mean? There's levels to heaven? You get to heaven and you're in the basement. You know, there's like water. There's like half bag opened Cheetos or something. Like, what do you mean? There's a basement level to heaven? Shouldn't it all be good? I don't know.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
dream.
levels.
That's
The shithead level.
And again, during this time, Tammy Daybell's still alive?
She is.
What else about this message stood out to you?
The last sentence is telling in my mind. I would happily join you tomorrow if it felt like heaven would not strike us down.
It's like the base level of your streaming
Your
plan.
Honor, I have no additional questions at this time.
Oh, done.
All right, thank you, Ms.
Wow.
Blake.
Wow.
Counsel, in reference to cross-examination and potential exhibit, I wanted to update counsel on that outside the presence of the jurors. So let's take a brief sidebar at this moment.
Oh, we got a sidebar.
Sidebar.
Oh no, I've lost my. Oh, there it is. All right. And we're a little behind, so I can fast forward this bad boy. Pryor is about to get spicy. We know that's going to happen with this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Bob, don't you think like a lot of it could be like, listen, this is just your interpretation. You don't know, like you're just reading these texts. You don't know what they,
Right. 100%.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Good morning. If you're coming in late, we have continued with the witness who's on the stand on Friday, FBI Special Agent Hart, who is reading in gross sexting sort of text, or if you're the prosecution, is reading in texts that are trying to say that that Chad is part of this manipulation. Chad is part of the reason these people are dead. That's why he's there.
Yeah, and Pryor's goal will be to continue to just couch this in terms of this is just an affair. And, you know, like he's going to use that last set of text messages to his advantage in terms of really pointing out that it appears Lori was the aggressive manipulator in the relationship. I mean, you could see from those that she was clearly really trying to manipulate him, kind of putting him under, you know, a lot of heat. Well, like, what do you want to do, Chad? Don't you want to be with me? I thought you loved me, Chad. You know, that kind of shit. So I fully anticipate he's gonna continue to lean into that, you know, that Lori was the one.
Oh, I see. I talked about you earlier, young black economist. She is the one who had commented that she kind of scopes out chats before she kind of enters them. So thank you for being here. Thanks for coming back. We hope we appreciate your comment that like you felt safe in this chat. So thanks for being here. I'm going to give you a funny thing that happened. So I don't know if you do this, Bob. Sometimes after lives, I'll go in the chat just to see, because especially when I have guests, I can't really focus on the chat. So I like to go back and see. So yesterday I do the live and I'm like, and I saw one comment when it was live, but someone's like sound. And then someone's like 10 minutes, like 10 seconds later, the sound is bad. Then like 10 seconds later, this is bad sound. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden the person 10 seconds later is like, oh, my speaker was in the other room.
That sounds like something I'd do.
I'm just glad I wasn't paying attention because I would be like, oh my God, I screwed up the sound. Like if I was during the, oh, that was funny.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's my world. Just one horrific text or, you know, tech error after another in a continuing chain of just terrible tech work by me.
Well, I mean, I have to say though, you are now coming in crystal clear with this new adapter.
That's great, man. I'm super excited about that because I got worried. I was like, I went and got the because I had ordered the Ethernet cable, but as I told you, I didn't order the adapter. And so, and then I was like Googling because there's like 2 ports on the back of these arrows that I have, these like beacons. And I'm reading, oh, there's no Ethernet port on the beacons. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? So I was like thinking I was going to have to try to, you know, get this thing fed through the walls downstairs, but it worked with the beacon. So I'm excited. Yeah, thanks, Charlotte. It does help for me not to be on mute in terms of speaking.
Looks like you're getting back for Pryor, so get ready, folks.
Oh, thank you, Joni, for those kind words. Appreciate that so much. Yeah, and welcome, young black. What is it, young black economist? I love that.
Yes. Oh, and by the way, if you're like new to my channel, just we say this all the time, but check out.
All right,
Bob's.
we're back on the record after a sidebar with counsel. It's a little earlier than we would normally do this, but what we're going to do is take our mid-morning break at this time in order to get some exhibits properly before the jury, before cross-examination, which will take a few moments. So we'll use that time to allow the jurors to take a break. I'll go on the record with counsel before we bring the jurors back in at the end of the break to make any other additional evidentiary rulings that would occur outside the presence of the jurors. And then once we've concluded that, we should have the morning set up for continued cross-examination and evidence until we get to lunch. So with that in mind, let's take our mid-morning break at this time.
All right, man.
I'm assuming he never really says, but usually it's a half hour. So I guess they'll be back around 12 Eastern. I'm trying to check on the latest for the Karen Reed jury selection. The judge, about an hour ago, the judge asked a series of verbal queries. 14 of the 91 in the pool said they knew witnesses or people close to them do. 78 had heard of the case. 32 developed an opinion on Karen Reed already. 13 say they have a bias. 36 say serving on a jury 6 to 8 weeks would be a hardship. So that's where.
All right, counsel, just let me know when you want to conclude the break when we have these exhibits ready.
Where are you pulling those tasty little factoids?
A journalist named Jonathan Hall, J Hall 7 News is his on the Twitter.
Witness the lies.
Nice. I like those. Those are good little factoids.
I want to show you something, Bob. So I think you'll appreciate this. I got the kids. They both did very good. The boys, Shannon actually is still in Kansas with Sloan, but I got the boys packs of baseball cards because like they collect cards, and so they did good on their report cards. But I decided to open one myself, and I got an autograph, which is pretty cool, and I think you will like it. So let me show you here, Bob. I think you will appreciate it as a Sox fan.
Is that Tim Raines?
I got a Tim Raines.
Oh, wow.
22 awesome. Of 50. Hall of Famer Tim Raines.
Hell yeah, dude. Rock Raines. I loved when he played with the Sox. He came up in the Montreal Expos. Like he played with them in the beginning of his career. Just a great player. Rock Raines, man.
It's pretty cool. And if you can see, this is obviously a 2023, but I'm sure you, Bob, remember from this looks like a 1988. This is what it looked like. Tops look like in 1988. Like the back even like has like it looks like exactly. They kind of do it. Oh, it's upside down, but they do. I don't know. Did you collect cards at all when you were young?
I did.
So that's kind of what their that's what their cards used to look like, and they did like a. So it's kind of cool.
They were great, man.
It's wild. There are some cards.
I used to love opening cards. It was such a fun thing to do. Like you'd be super excited, you know, when you could scrape up enough money to go get 5, 6, 7 packs, or those like rare occasions where you could afford a whole box.
Man,
and it's like the lottery, dude. You know, you're just going because you know the cards that you're looking for. I had a buddy, one of my best friends in high school, that realized immediately that Jordan was going to be. Like just I don't think he knew that he'd be the GOAT, but this kid collected cards like because I was usually just a baseball card guy. I didn't like delve into basketball and football as much because I don't know, baseball cards were just my thing. So he started collecting basketball cards, and I think like when we graduated high school in '88, and we both decided because we both had girlfriends that were still juniors. So we both decided to put off college, and we rented an apartment. So he had a little, like kind of like a little tray table that he would sit at with his boxes. This dude must have had 400 plus Jordan rookies.
Wow.
Like, and he would go get them signed. I mean, he probably has like retirement money just off of his Jordans, you know?
It's so interesting because it's evolved now because now it's all about getting the graded card.
Right.
Also, like there's packs that like there's one pack. There's like I think it was the Grail. I don't know if it's still the Grail, but there was a card and it had the patch of the the NBA from because now they cut up jerseys and they put it in a card.
Right.
And it was the NBA logo from LeBron and from Jordan, and like that was like there's but those packs cost like $200 just for like a pack. It's wild the business it is now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like I like when I was probably about 15 years ago, I started playing Magic the Gathering. Totally.
Those are worth a lot. Those cards, if you have some like originals or Pokemon, obviously.
Yeah. Magic the Gathering is a great game though. Like in terms of and I don't care if people think it's nerdy because it's like it's like chess on crack because there's just so many ways that you can play that game. It's like I always thought it was like a brilliant game, man. Allison would give me so much shit. She's like, "You're such a dork."
Amy says,
like, "I don't care. I love it."
Just saw on Twitter that Colby Ryan, Lauren's son, is at the courthaus today. Is he?
Oh man,
I don't know the answer to that. If anyone knows,
Michelle, I'm a Cubs fan too. Like I think Jay and I were having this conversation. Michelle Redmond said, "Sorry about it, but Cubs, go Cubs, go." I'm of the firm position that I like Chicago does not win enough championships to be picky. So like kind of the rule, and I don't know what it is in New York, Jay, with respect to whether you go Mets or Yankees. Obviously, you have a lot of influence on who your parents were fans of. My dad was kind of like ambivalent, you know? And so, and the way that they break it down in Chicago is the north side and the south side. So there's a street called Madison, which is 0. So that's the 0 street. So if you're north of Madison, you're technically on the north side. And if you're south of it, you're on the south side. And like, so I really started to like love baseball, where like every morning I'd go out and get the newspaper and I'd start digging into the box scores. And I just started like nerding out hard on baseball because I just love it. It's a beautiful sport. There's no clock, or at least there didn't used to be. I loved it. I thought it was like the perfect sport. And, you know, but so 83 was the year that the Sox had like the winning ugly. And like, that was right when I started to really get into baseball. And then the following season, the Cubs had that magical 84 season where they lost to the Padres, Steve Garvey, and the horrible ball that went through Leon Durham. And like, we had traded for Rick Sutcliffe from the Indians, and he went 16-1. So it's like, I've always loved both teams. I think that because the Cubs didn't have lights when I was growing up, I had a tendency to go to way more Sox games because they were at night. So, you know, they became my favorite out of the two. Like, so I always root for both. But like, I refuse to be like, I hate the Cubs. I'm like, dude, we don't win enough shit in this town for you to like if either team, like, I was thrilled. I was rooting so hard for the Cubs in 2016 when they finally won the series. I mean, how could you not want them to win the series?
So, all right, let me give you my perspective as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So it's more in New York. It's by like the borough. So if you're in Queens, you know, City Field, you're generally speaking, you're a Mets fan. The Bronx, where the Yankees play, you know, generally, you know, you're going to be a Yankee fan. That's kind of how it is. But for me, whereas you are like rooting for both teams, I say fuck the Yankees because. Listen, you know, the Mets have generally sucked. I mean, they've won 2 World Series, the last one in 1986, but
which was Yankees, a great team, dude.
What the 86? Oh yeah. What a all-time team, and they almost didn't. They almost blew it. But you guys, I mean, people who, and if there's Yankees fans in here, I'm sorry, JK, I'm not, fuck off. But generally speaking, you know what a Yankee fan is like. For people who don't, 26 ring. So I throughout my entire high school through like. The Mets are terrible. And then listen to this, Bob. I'll give you the story. So my whole life, like growing, my dad had bought us season tickets. We went every Saturday game. It was Saturday home games, and the Mets suck. Finally, in 1999, they get to the NLCS, which was a crushing loss where Wainwright strikes out Carlos Beltran. 2000, they get to the World Series, and who do they play? 2000, the fucking Yankees. So I'm like, finally.
Series, man.
This is my chance. But listen how the Mets screwed their ticket holders. So, you know, up to that point, any playoffs, my dad got tickets to every game because he was a season ticket. 2000 comes, all of a sudden he didn't get tickets to every game because like they were giving him to like Yankee fan, like they had like, so like that was when he was like done. But anyway, of course, it's 2000. I'm like, this is my chance to finally, the Mets can win. They could shut them up just once, get them to shut up.
Right.
And the Mets fucking lose. And just how that series went, they should have won, but they lost. Anyway, that's why I don't cheer for the Yankees.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, obviously for both baseball teams, it's like the Sox won it when they won it in, you know, 2005. It was like first time in my life, you know, first time in my life that they had made it to the series, you know, and the Cubs obviously the same. So it was like, you know, I mean, dude, like it's almost been 20 years since the Sox went to the World Series, and now they've won 3 games. I think they're 3-18. I'm like, I part of me just wants to like have Jerry Reinsdorf move them so I could just be done with them. Like I haven't like, because I love baseball and they're like, they ruin it for me. I'm like, they're unwatchable. I'm not watching any games. Like you guys started off a little slow, but you're playing really well. I started
wearing my hat, and then I started winning. So it's like, Shannon, if you're watching, don't give me shit about jinxes. And superstitions.
She just doesn't know, man. She doesn't know. Like when the Bears won the Super Bowl in '85, I think I was a sophomore in high school, and like every Friday, whatever team they were, and I'm no artist, Jay, but whatever team they were playing, I remember in geometry class, because I had no idea what was going on in there. I would sit there and I would draw a picture of a bear, like the animal, a bear, like mauling whatever animal that they were playing.
That's
So
awesome.
it was like every week. And the only week, Jay, the only week that I didn't get one done was the week that they lost to the Dolphins that broke the
So you're
streak.
the reason they didn't have the perfect season?
Obviously, clearly.
Damn, Bob.
Clearly, dude. So yeah, that was like, and that season was, man, magical season. Just a magical season. Like, but but I'm living off of Jordan, the 85 Bears.
I mean, I'm living off the 86 Mets, so I
know, dude. But Doc Gooden, man, that team was so great, man.
They just retired his number this weekend, or the last.
I loved that team. I loved watching that team. It was just such a fun team. It was like one of those teams that transcends like where they're from. It was like the 85 Bears. Like the whole country loved them.
Right.
Just characters,
brash. They
just care. Great. People just love those kind of teams, and they're so rare.
What's interesting, I think, is like the 85, the Bears and the Met, like for folks that are in here, I don't care who you are, whatever, like sports are so crazy in that, like whoever, like if you're in England, you follow soccer, or like those teams that win a championship, those players, like for the people who are alive with, are forever immortalized. That's why it's such a, like, I know all the 86 Mets, like, the, and like forever, like anytime, like there's like if they retire their number or they come back, it's like it's so cool to see. It's like such a cool,
dude. Like I have season tickets to the Bears, and like anytime any of the old 85 Bears, like you said, they're on the sidelines, and they always put them up on the jumbotron or whatever they call the screens now, and it's like they're interviewing, like the whole crowd's just going nuts. Yeah, dude. Yeah, somebody's like the Super Bowl shuffle. I mean, how great was that?
That was the best.
I still I think I still remember every word from all of them. You're looking at the fridge. I'm the rookie. I may be large, but I'm no dumb cookie. You seen me kick. You seen me run, dude. I mean, like that whole thing was just like an amazing season. And they had the balls to like make that and put it out like before the playoffs started.
Right.
It's like it was so.
We're boring some folks.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, let me ask you this, Bob. What's you got any lives during the night this week? Any again, folks? How many days until Delphi? When does that?
Like May 13th, man.
That's like
the day.
About 2-3 weeks. That's gonna be here.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll have some Delphi lives this week. I'm trying to get my boy Bill Dorsch, former Chicago cop, to jump on and do a Gacy. I think I'm jumping on News Nation tomorrow. They like to do Gacy pieces where they play portions of the tape. So look for that. Those are usually pretty good. News Nation I like because it's like hit and run. I'm in and out. Like where if I'm with like Law and Crime or Court TV, like they'll have me hour, 2 hours, So it's like News Nation is like boop. And they always put me on with Banfield. She loves like the Gacy shit. So, and she, but it's like a 5 minute segment, So I like that. Yeah, I'll definitely have some. I imagine I'll have some Delphi stuff this weekend.
Let me ask you this. I'm sure I'm guessing that you're probably the same as me. So like we talked about, I did these. These lives this weekend, and it's like I'm sure you probably have the same thing. After I do a live like this, especially particularly with like guests that are great, I'm like, how can I put this? How can I like package this in a way? Like I got to make shorts, I got to make videos, and like my whole thing is like trying to think of the best way to put it in a way that people will see it. Like because shorts on YouTube do good sometimes they don't. Instagram sometimes, TikTok. Like both me and Bob are very much on like all. That's why I have Bob's links up. TikTok, all the things. It's like trying to produce these because like it's like some people like an hour long live is just not for them, which I get. But then I want to make it into a video. But like, what do I add? What do I don't? It's. I'm curious your thoughts. Like when you like after you do a live, like trying to break it down into pieces where.
Well,
it's so tough.
Like I've got to get like so it is, and it's so tough that I actually like I have like a company that I have making those shorts for me. Like, but I want to get into I want to start making the videos.
Yeah.
Because like those can really, there's so much work though. Like
there's so much work.
And like, I bought a program and like you got to like literally start watching YouTubes on how to use the program to make the videos. And then you've got to do all the work in terms of like for you with Adelson, like you're having to sit and like diligently watch entire testimonies of various people. You know, you're digging and trying to find every time that Wendy, you know, testified in court, any interviews that she may have done, you know, so you're having to put together all the content, which is just massive amount of work. That's why I'm always thrilled that those things, they do really well for you, because, you know, the amount of work that you put into them is, people have no idea.
Yeah,
you know?
editing, man. I didn't realize how hard editing is. And it, like, because first it's like you said, it's researching and like downloading the stuff, but then it's putting it into a video, putting it into a format where it's like, it's easy to I don't know, understand, or just, and then it's like, then I got to cut my own video, put it in this program, try to make it so it's, you know, congruent. It's what program did you get?
I know. It's like Movavia or some shit. It's like, I don't even know if I like it. What do you use? Canva?
I use CapCut.
CapCut. Is it pretty user friendly?
To me, I started with iMovie, which is like the default, you know, Apple Mac thing. I think CapCut is great because, you know, if you see videos that are out there that have like, it does the captions, it does AI for the captions, so I don't have to sit there and type them. I just have to like, I just have to like make some changes if it gets names wrong and stuff. But I find the program very easy, and like you said, I had to like watch a couple of YouTube videos. That's what I do, like, to learn to do pretty much live stream, to figure out how to finally play sound effects on
like
here.
whenever I didn't know how to use something, you'll be like, dude, I'll send you like either you'd make me a short video explaining how to do something, or you'd send me, you know, a YouTube video that explained how to do something. Yeah, it's like like, thank God for AI. Or not AI, YouTube. Yeah, I mean, like the AI thing. I don't know.
Well, the AI thing is interesting because what CapCut has, and I tried it and it's not perfected yet, but what CapCut will do is, if you put a clip in, it will like kind of like make it into a short, make it into like a video, like, and it'll put the captions, like it does it all for you, kind of. To me, yet the technology isn't perfected because it's still kind of, to me, isn't visual. But I'm sure there are people, obviously, they're just using AI. I probably, you know, CapCut is not the best program, but I'm sure there are some AI programs where people just throw in their podcast, and it'll say it's like you and me, and the AI will, like, when I talk, it'll just show me, and when you talk, it'll just, like, there are definitely people who are using that technology to do that. So
yeah, it's like, yeah, Sarah, I know I need to do like a Delphi piece. For sure. Like I've been wanting to do a video for that too. It's like, just, I've been trying to be more diligent with getting Garcia done. So, like, it's just trying to find the time, you know?
Exactly.
It's hard.
And I saw someone was asking about Avery too. You were doing that. And that's the thing too, with like, there are so many cases, and then it's like trying to determine, like, what do people want to see today? Like, so some people want to see, and it's trying to, you know,
people love the Avery stuff, but I mean, I decided what we're going to do is we're going to break into seasons. So like the first 11 is going to be season 1, and then we'll do 11 more. Like, cause it was like when Allison has real life shit come out, like I have no way to like pull her out of it. It's like, I'm lucky to get her to come on lives with me, you know, for an hour, sometimes longer, you know? So it's like, I'm going to knock Garcia out. I've been much better with it. Like that for a minute there, I was like, be like 3 weeks, sometimes a month. Like I'm getting them out pretty frequently now. So, like, I'm just going to get that case done, so it's out of my life. You know, I'm ready for it, man.
If you're coming in late, by the way, folks, I think that they're on a break probably till 12, I'm guessing. So that's why I'm kind of just bullshitting here. Speaking of AI, Society Page has a great YouTube. He focuses on Adelson's, and Bob, he was able to feed into a program Charlie Adelson's voice, and now he can like make like a video of basically he has a video that's like, hey, this is Charlie Adelson, check out the Society Page, and you would think it's his actual voice. I mean, AI is like, I mean, we've talked about the scams that people could do. It's on another level with what people could do with that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from the creator side of it, like AI really worries me. You know, it's like, I mean, they could deep fake our voices. Like I can always tell if somebody's drafted up something that AI wrote it. Like I'm good at being able to recognize it, because there's like a continuity that's missing. You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like,
I mean, hasn't it happened with court filings where people have been
oh
called
yeah.
out because like it's
Well,
very
that's
clear.
hilarious because it's making up fake case citations. like the famous one was where the lawyer went in and he filed something and he had to admit that AI did the whole thing, because what happens when you cite cases is that the other side and the judge pull up the citations. So they recognize very quickly that these aren't real cases. And like the guy had to admit, yeah, he's like, dude, yeah, I used AI for it. And worse than just using AI to write the entire brief, I didn't check the case law. Like, because we have a duty, because cases get overturned. They become what they call bad law. You'll get like a red flag. They call it shepherdizing. So you'll get a red flag case where a decision is no longer good law. It's been overturned by another case. So you get red flagged or yellow flagged if there's like a portion of a decision that has been overturned, but overall the case is still good law. So, I mean, it's part of the job. Like, so that guy just got like, but at some point, man, like the thing that worries me about AI in terms of the criminal world, I don't know. Have you seen, it's a doc that dropped on Netflix in the last couple weeks about, the girl who ended up like, I don't want to give a spoiler alert. I think it's like, I can't remember if it was What Did Anna Do, or I can't remember.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen I know what you're talking about. I haven't.
Yeah. So apparently, Netflix had to come out and admit that they had AI create a fake picture of her, making her look like she was like in a disco, real happy. So what I worry about from the criminal justice side of this is it's like especially with the pictures, man, there is going to be no way to determine what's real and what's fake at all. I mean, from the law enforcement side of it, from, the witness side, like it's just like, it's really scary, man. Like in terms of how AI is going to affect the criminal justice system. It's going to be a thing. Like, and this isn't just my like AI paranoia.
No.
Like it's already starting to happen. Like this is like Allison's cousin, when I was telling him about my like AI terror, which is like a bigger terror, like an overall terror. He's like, yeah, no, the thing that I'm worried about is that, kind of like that with the criminal justice system, or where wars are going to be started because somebody's deep faked something that some world leader has said, or, I mean, just attributing like disasters or terrorist attacks on other people. And you know what I mean? It's like the possibilities for like its misuse in the wrong hands are like endless, but it's like when you look at the potential for, like I'm fairly certain that, the medical possibilities are going to be mind blowing. I mean, when the thing is able to basically, when they take off some of the, the firewalls and allow AI to really suck up everything that's out there, and they're going to become super intelligent, way more intelligent than we are. I mean, they'll probably figure out the cure for cancer. They'll probably figure out the cure for Parkinson's. They'll probably, it's like, the possibilities for like really amazing things to be done certainly exist, but it's like you have to you have to see what outweighs one another. I mean, if it's going to mean the end of our existence, I mean, like, I don't know. It's scary to me, man.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, we talked about this on a prior stream, but there was like a Congress hearing about this guy. This guy was a doctor and he got duped by, they used AI of his son's voice, I believe, calling him, and he was like, "Listen, Dad, I just got into this accident, and you need to bail me out, but like I can't." Like I forget what the scam was.
I do. It was a money grift. It was unbelievable.
Right. It was like
I don't know where you
$5,000.
found it. Yeah, it was like this guy was testifying in front of Congress, and he was a really bright guy. He gets a phone call one morning. It's his dad. He's like, Dad, I'm calling you from jail. I just got in an automobile accident, and I rear-ended a woman, and she happened to be pregnant. And, they ended up arresting me for a DUI. So I'm currently in jail. They let me call a lawyer, I called this guy and he needs like the $8,000 retainer. So just stay by your phone. You're going to get a call from this lawyer, like immediately. Like I knew, like as a lawyer, like none of it made sense. I'm like, number one, like no one's like that's not how you get it. So, and it gets deeper. So they took the kid's voice from his socials and they created a deep fake of the kid's voice so that the father thinks it's his son, like 100%. And it is his son's voice. So within a few minutes, he ends up getting a phone call from this lawyer. He's like, yeah, I'm your son's lawyer. I need, I'm heading over to the courthouse. Gives him the number for the courthouse and, or what he thinks is the number for the courthouse. So he's like, call them. They'll tell you what the charges are. And, and then you can send me the retainer and I'll kind of take it from there. I'll handle the bond hearing. So calls what he thinks is the courthouse. They answer it. They got somebody working like a clerk. Oh yeah, I'm pulling up your kid's case. Yeah. It sounds like he was arrested for DUI. So like, I mean, dude, and like he sends the money. It's like a grift, but it's just a very small example of how it's going to be used. Like it's scary, man. It just is.
Someone put in the chat a good point is like, you got to start talking to like your family and like, you got to have like a code word or something to say that like, where you're like, this is shitty. Do you say the word that we talk? You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
because it's just going to get worse and worse. I mean, if he's literally testifying in Congress, this guy was a doctor. I'm fairly certain. It's not like
he was really a highly educated guy, man.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't some schmuck or I think he was actually a lawyer, but he wasn't a criminal defense. He was either a lawyer or a doctor. It was shocking.
Yeah.
I think that he may have been an attorney, but he was like he wasn't a criminal defense attorney. You know what I mean? So like he had familiarity with the criminal justice system. He wasn't like, which made it that much more terrifying, that you have somebody who's actually an attorney. I think that he was an attorney. He was highly educated either way.
Yeah.
So I just got hoodwinked, man. It's like, for me, I'm like, all right. I'm like, first of all, I'm calling my kid back, or like, how is he calling me from his cell phone if he's in jail? I'm like I would have like put it together right away. I'm like, no one, like, no, like they're not going to give you a no bond. They're not going to bring you like everything about the story didn't make sense to me, but that's just because like I'm in the system. For anybody else that doesn't know, like it would seem completely legitimate. You know what I mean? So it was like,
here's a question I have that now that you bring that up. Because I thought about this the other day. They always say you have your one call you can make, right? And nowadays, like no one fucking remembers numbers. I couldn't tell you. I barely know Shannon's number. Do they let you look at your phone when you make a call? Like, how does that work?
It depends on if your phone is evidence.
Wow. So if your phone is evidence, then you just gotta hope you remember the number to call.
I mean, they might let you, or they might read you off a number. They'll
Right.
say, all right, I'm going to, well, but then the issue becomes, have you granted them access to your phone?
Right.
Or are you forcing them to get because if you're like, oh, well, I need the number. Okay, well, give me your passcode.
Right.
Because once
Wow, I
they're
didn't
in,
even think
they're
about
in.
that.
Yeah. So it's tricky.
That's because I gotta tell you, I don't know any numbers really. Like I don't know them. I just look at the freaking phone and it tells me. By the way, folks, we're thinking we should be back in about 5 minutes. They never announce or very rarely announce.
Yeah, we're just killing time, y'all.
We're just waiting.
We're not missing any court currently. They took their morning break early. The last agent that was on the stand is now done in terms of direct. So we're expecting the cross-examination of that particular agent. And then I think scheduling wise is probably what was going on. I think Pryor probably told the judge, look, I'll probably be able to make it up until the lunch. It's like one of the things that I'm always talking about, that, behind the scenes, you just don't know what's going on, because like if witnesses have a problem getting to court, or you have an expert that you're trying to put on and they had a conflict that pops up. I mean, it's such a fluid situation with trials, and you're trying to anticipate how long somebody's going to be on the stand, because you're not trying to waste people's time, especially like witnesses, especially like expert witnesses that you're having to pay. You don't want them sitting there charging, $500, $600, $700 an hour to sit in the hallway. So you're trying to coordinate the best you can, anticipating how long direct's going to be to finish this off. And like, you don't really know how long Pryor's going to take. So scheduling wise, they're probably trying to figure it out. And I have a feeling that Pryor will probably make it up to lunch with this witness, but maybe not. You know what I mean? Like he could just attack the things, that I think that potentially will be helpful to him. Like reading through those, I like it really made like I didn't love those for the case against Chad. I didn't like that the certain. I mean, it certainly makes him look like a schmuck, but like it really makes Lori look like she was the
All
one.
right, we're back on the record.
Just real
without
quick,
the
someone
jurors.
asked any Karen Reed updates. I didn't see anything about the jury. The only thing I see is that I don't know if I think we talked about this last week, but like there was a motion, I think by the defense that there was an issue with the courtroom that the jurors couldn't see the witnesses. So the Commonwealth has responded suggesting that the trial be moved to another courtroom. But that, as far as the jury, I don't see any updates on that. But I'll let you guys know if I see anything.
Present at this time take up the matter of some exhibits. The issue being that one of the exhibits needed a redaction and other exhibits had some editorial type commentary on them that the court ruled would not be permitted as part of the exhibits. So those were also altered. And so let's just start with the state's exhibit 183. That was on Friday, and it was noted when we stopped for the day that there was some personal identifier information that needed to be redacted. That was redacted, and the information was not published to the jury. But in terms of marking or tracking the redacted exhibit, what does the state suggest in terms of a new replacement exhibit or just noting on the record a redaction on the admitted exhibit?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would request that we just note that the redaction was made. The state actually never ended up submitting the original 183 because that was caught prior to us finishing with that PowerPoint presentation. So I talked to Madam Clerk and let her know that we were going to go ahead and get it modified. So the exhibit that's actually been entered into the record is the 183 with the redaction. So I think if we could just make a clear record that it's been admitted with the redaction versus the 183 that was previously admitted that wouldn't have had the redaction, if that makes sense, that may be the easiest way to do it. And the jump drive submitted to the court does have that correction.
Okay. From the defense, any objection to handling the exhibit that way?
No, Judge, and the state provided me all of the redactions, so that's acceptable.
Okay, so I'll put that on the record then. Exhibit 183 now admitted, and what was published and what will be provided to the jurors has the redacted personal identifier information from those screenshots on insurance applications or forms. So that will resolve 183. On Exhibit 6, that was previously admitted, and the commentary, which was not part of the content of the exhibit other than labeling of certain parts of the exhibit, has been removed from those exhibits. I guess I'm looking for how the parties wish to handle that Exhibit 6, and it's also going to be Exhibit 7 also, defense Exhibit 6 and 7. Do we want to strike from the record those already admitted exhibits and admit substitute exhibits? Mr. Pryor, what's your suggestion on that?
Judge, I've prepared substitute exhibits, so I would move to strike those three and Judge, it's 6, 7, and 32, which are all by stipulation. I've prepared substitute exhibits. I've had given the state the opportunity to review those in their entirety. So I have 6, 7, and 32. So I would move to strike 6 and 7. I'll substitute 6 in and 7 in with the additional one, and then move for 32 as well.
I think 32, we're looking at our records. I don't know that that one was yet admitted.
I don't think so, Judge, but I may have referenced it, but I don't think I admitted it at this point.
Okay, well, if 32 is not yet admitted, then we don't have an issue there. What will be admitted will have the proper labeling. On 6 and 7.
Sharon, is Kelly the
I guess my
is that the
suggestion is going to be
Arizona
we would
rancher
strike
case? Or am I screwing that up?
them and maybe relabel the new submitted ones since exhibits were already admitted and call them 6A and 6B. Is there any objection to us giving them a new designated name, or do you think it's more clear to just note the changes on the exhibits after admission?
Your Honor, from the state's perspective, I believe that both 6 and 7 have multiple subparts that are labeled within the disc as
Thanks,
6A, 6B, and subsequent, and I think 7's the same. So because of that, I'm not sure if labeling them 6A and 7A would, I think it may create some confusion for the record. So I don't know if we could simply strike the other ones and just resubmit them as 6 and 7, but
Okay.
we'll leave it to the court's discretion.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So that makes more sense to me also then. So just to be clear on the record, 6 and 7 were previously admitted. They were not yet published to the jurors. They were altered in that the descriptive language within those exhibits has been removed. So the contents are the same. The descriptions are not there any longer. So 6 and 7, as originally submitted, are removed from the record, and these 6 and 7 exhibits will come in now with the proper identifiers and just simply replace what was admitted. So we'll watch for that as things move along, counsel. I think there's a few other exhibits that are going to require the same treatment that have maybe not yet been admitted, and my staff attorney will assist in identifying those along the way if counsel hasn't. So I think with that, then we're ready to proceed with those evidentiary issues resolved. Anything further before we move on to cross from the state?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
Judge, just that if I could have the original 6 and 7 that were struck and have them returned to me, I would appreciate it, Judge.
Okay, if we do have those, we'll get those out of our court records back to defense counsel, and then we will make a diligent effort before deliberations that whatever of these digital files go in for deliberations are only the correct exhibits that were admitted during trial. So with that, we're ready to bring the jurors back in. Let's have them return, and we'll commence with the defense cross of the witness.
You will bring the jury.
Hey, a couple of things. One, yes, we will keep an eye out on that jury watch on the rancher case. Jay, I don't know if you're aware of that case. Rancher in Arizona has a really big piece of property.
All right,
an undocumented got shot and killed on his property. It's a pretty interesting case. It became highly political, obviously, especially with the election coming. So they turned it into a political football, of course, always. But essentially what happens is he was just on his property. He claims that he saw a group of individuals about 100 yards. He's got a really, really big piece of property, sees an individual about 100 yards away, goes in, gets his weapon, which I think was an AK, and claims that when he sees them, that he sees them with weapons. He doesn't know who they are. They're trespassing on his land. Claims that he fires a warning shot, and then, everybody scatters. Says he, goes out that I think it was the next morning and discovers that this person's dead on his land. He had called, and it wasn't law enforcement proper, but he called the Border Patrol when he saw the people on his land initially. And he's like, hey, it looks like there's some people like either coming into the country, crossing my land. I don't know who they are. So those were typically the people that he reached out to. So he did try to call prior to making the shot. Problem from the state's perspective is they never find the projectile because it went through him, through the victim. So they never find that. And additionally, the victim didn't have any gunshot residue on him. So it's an interesting case. It's a really interesting case. I think it's a very difficult case for the state because they really don't have any evidence against the rancher, because they're basically saying, look, I think this was like a drug deal gone bad, kind of like a No Country for Old Men type scenario where you have a bunch of guys like meeting in some random area and some shit goes sideways. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And then Mona had asked an interesting question about prior addressing the judge as judge or your honor. No, don't. It's not disrespectful. I mean, I interchange it all the time. Like, and I certainly don't have any intent on being disrespectful. Like, if I see a former judge like out and about, I still call him judge. I'm like, hey, judge, how are you? You know, so it's like either way is a sign of respect. So, and I think probably as you listen, just it's like it's interchangeable, really. So I don't. I've never, in terms of me using either your honor or judge, it's just depends on the moment. You know, I don't even think about it. You know, but I'm certainly not like, oh, I don't respect this judge, so I'm just going to call him judge. You know, it's like it just depends on the moment. You know, it depends on if I'm in front of a jury. Maybe I think about it, but like I use your honor probably more than I do judge. But if I'm directly just speaking to the judge more casually, like even in court, I'll just say judge, you know, like almost like it's their first name. So
Break up things on. Stand up.
Yeah, tell Potato to stand up.
Return had on the record outside the jury's presence. Jury's returned at this time. Agent Hart remains on the stand, still under oath for testimony. The state concluded direct. So at this time, Mr. Pryor, if you'd like to conduct cross-examination, you can do so.
And permission to approach the podium, Judge.
Yes.
Thank you.
what are you doing, buddy? Nook's digging around. I'm gonna take this guy on a walk during lunch break.
Would you prefer Good morning, Agent Hart.
Morning.
Now, would you prefer I refer to you as agent? You're retired FBI agent, is that right?
I am retired. That's correct.
Is it your preference to be called chief deputy, or would you prefer agent?
Agent's a little less of a mouthful, so that's fine.
And then, then I'll take your suggestion and refer to you as agent, if that's okay. As part of your investigation, you went over thousands of messages. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Tens of thousands of messages?
Yes.
Okay. A significant amount.
Correct.
And you put together a summary of what you thought were relevant messages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about who some of these messages were sent to, who received some of these messages. Obviously, you spoke in great detail about messages from Chad Daybell. Is that right?
Correct.
And Lori Vallow?
Yes.
Melanie Gibb?
No, Melanie Boudreau.
Well, did you ever have any that you reviewed from Melanie Gibb?
There are messages between Lori Vallow and Melanie Gibb in the iCloud that I have reviewed, yes.
Okay, so there were messages that were involved with Melanie Gibb as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did any of these folks use other names in speaking with themselves, referring to others?
Can you clarify? Do you mean that
So,
names other than
nicknames.
themselves?
Nicknames. Lori Vallow use any nicknames?
Yes.
What nicknames did Lori Vallow use?
For others or for herself?
For herself and when others responded to her?
She would be called Lolo. She would be called Lily.
You can just
Chad
call me
Daybell
the
referred to
goddess.
her as Elena. And then there were numerous nicknames for her contacts that she had within the iCloud.
Okay, and then as far as Melanie Gibb, do you recall the nickname that Melanie Gibb used?
For herself?
For herself, yes.
I'm sorry, I don't recall that.
Okay. If I mention the word Phoebe, does that ring a bell?
Phoebe rings a bell, but I couldn't say definitively that that's associated with Melanie Gibb.
Okay. And if I were to show you a text message that referenced Phoebe to Lori Vallow, would that refresh your recollection?
It may.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Other nicknames.
Did she sing a song called Smelly Cat?
Other people, Alex Cox, did he have any nicknames?
Smelly cat.
Al was the most common one.
Okay. Melanie Boudreau?
Mostly Mel.
Okay. Anybody else you can think of?
Lori Vallow referred to Chad Daybell frequently as Bubby, Bubby.
Okay. Anything else?
Not that I would classify as nicknames. There were several occasions where others were assigned names by Chad Daybell, but I wouldn't call those nicknames.
Okay. Okay. Now, if I could have Elmo put up, Madam Clerk.
What are we going to put on the Elmo?
I'm going to ask the officer to go back to
Elmo's World.
Referencing 183.
183, Judge.
All right. Mr. Pryor's mentioned before there's a light and zoom feature on that Elmo for clarity. Switch gets rid of the shadow.
Judge, I promise you. So I want to start towards the end of what we talked about. And you talked about your analysis of this particular discussion or chain of text messages. And this is from the Lolly time at iCloud, Lori Vallow, right?
Correct.
And the last line, I want you to read 824 again for me.
Of course. I want to be with you. That is my greatest hope and dream. I would happily join you tomorrow if it felt like heaven would not strike us down.
And you interpreted this in what way?
I don't believe I interpreted it at all during my testimony. I read it into the record on direct.
Okay. Well, I'm a bit curious. I want to be with you. That's Chad responding that he wants to be with Lori Vallow, right?
Correct.
It's my greatest hope and dream. He wants to have a relationship with her, right?
Yes. I mean, they've been in a 10-month relationship at this point, but I think he wants that relationship to be overtly known to everyone.
Okay. And you said a 10-month relationship. So 8/11 of 2019. I go back 10 months, and that puts me right to October 31st, give or take a few days. So is it your testimony? You said 10 months. Is it your testimony that that relationship started immediately on October 31st, the first time they met?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. So they were in a physical relationship from the first time they met?
No, I testified that their physical relationship began the second time they met in person, which would have been November 15th through the 17th of 2018.
And your interpretation of what that physical relationship in 2 weeks later was what? What type of physical relationship they have 2 weeks later?
Chad Daybell wrote about it in great detail. They were kissing, fondling each other, in bed with each other, taking each other's clothes off.
Okay.
Oh,
and that
cute.
Are you referring to the Jack and the Elena story? Is that what you're referring to?
James and
Elena. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I said Jack. James and Elena. Excuse me. You're talking about the James and Elena story, right?
Correct.
And you know what Chad Daybell does for a living, right?
I do.
He's an author.
Yes.
He writes books about experiences that people have, whether religious or otherwise, right?
Yes.
And with every author, there's a little bit of exaggeration or artistic creativity whenever you're writing books. Would you agree with me?
If it's nonfiction, I would agree with you.
Okay. And you also know that this James and Elena was really a book in the making by Chad Daybell about his relationship with Lori Vallow, right?
I wasn't aware that it's a book in the making, no.
Okay. So this was just him taking doing a literary exercise, just writing about his relationship with Lori Vallow, not for the purpose of doing anything with it, just writing about this and making notes using different names, right?
I believe it's a truthful and accurate story.
Okay. A truthful and accurate story that you're putting down in writing about a relationship you're having with a woman, right?
Yes.
With some artistic creativity applied to it, correct?
I'll agree.
Okay. Now, did you, as part of your investigation, go back and look at some of Chad Daybell's writings?
We had someone in the investigative group do that. I've had some limited exposure to Chad Daybell's other writings, but I was not the individual who did an extensive analysis of those.
Okay. Are you aware that Chad Daybell made a habit of at least vaguely touching on some of his personal experiences when he wrote books?
It's my understanding that a couple of his books were about his prior experiences in his life.
And one of his books was about his daughter, Emma. In fact, the very book mentions the name Emma in the book, doesn't it not?
I couldn't tell you the title of the book, but I believe that's correct.
So it wouldn't have been particularly unusual for him, given his past about writing about his past experiences, to put together a book or a novel about a relationship he was having with Lori Vallow, correct?
Correct. I think the James and Elena story is about his relationship with Lori Vallow.
And it wouldn't be unusual, like in his other books, to maybe provide some artistic creativity as far as the facts are concerned, right?
It would depend on which facts you're talking about.
Okay. So what you're saying to me is that if the facts are helpful to the prosecuting attorney, he's not making it up.
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative. Move to strike.
Sustain.
Okay. You don't know which facts are creative in this story that he was writing Lori Vallow, do you?
I know that we were able to vet and verify an extensive number of facts from that story.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you whether the explicit sexual detail is accurate or not, but the other elements are accurate.
Okay. So when we go back to this lolly time that's up on the board here and showing us, the last line is, "I would happily join you tomorrow if it felt like heaven would not strike us down." You see that line?
I do.
Okay. And you said you didn't offer any explanation as to what that meant.
On direct, I did not.
Okay. And that was on August 11th of 2019.
That's correct.
And it talks about heaven would strike us down in regards to the relationship.
Say again?
Well, it's in regards to the relationship, because I will happily join you tomorrow if it felt like heaven would not strike us down. That's what that says, isn't it?
It does.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with murder, does it?
I don't know that I could say entirely that it doesn't.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with the fact that maybe Mr. Daybell felt he couldn't divorce his wife, Tammy?
I don't know whether that's what that's in reference to or not.
Could it have anything to do with the possibility that Chad Daybell, as this so-called visionary who gets these premonitions, wouldn't leave his wife, Tammy, until his premonition came true that she would pass away?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstates the evidence or the prior testimony.
Overruled.
You can answer that, officer.
Again, I don't know what was in Chad Daybell's mind as it relates to why heaven would strike him down if he joined Lori Vallow at that point.
Okay. tens of thousands of text messages, right?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see in any of these, and if you have them in the other 10,000 that you went through, show me the one that says, hey, this is Chad. Let's kill the kids.
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative, and tries to put evidence not in fact. Facts not in evidence.
Well, it's question on cross. It's overruled.
Show me the text. It says, let's kill the kids.
Well, that is argumentative, Mr. Pryor. If you want to ask if there's a text, that would be different.
Is there a text that says, let's kill the kids?
There are several texts that talk in detail about the deaths of those two children, yes.
Oh, well, in detail about the deaths and what happened during their deaths, right? Not let's kill the kids, are there?
Wait a minute. What do you mean what happened during their...
What I'm saying is that there's references to Tylee and JJ throughout text messages, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But there is not a text message that says, let's kill the kids, is there?
There are text message in those specific words, no, but certainly alluding to and planning for the deaths of Tylee and JJ, yes.
Okay, and what in reference to how they're planning to kill the kids, why don't you talk to me a little bit about that? What exactly did you come across that says, let's plan on killing the kids?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstates the testimony and it's argumentative.
That is sustained.
Okay. You just made reference to the fact that there are text messages that talk about the planning of killing these kids, right?
Correct.
What text messages are you referring to?
There are several text messages between Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell that refer to a plan to take the children and Chad Daybell's ability as a supposed visionary to understand when that might happen.
Okay. Okay, so there's no specific text message that talks about we're going to kill the kids and live happily ever after, is there?
I would disagree. Contextually, I think that's the meaning of those texts.
Okay. So in other words, you're interpreting those texts how you think they should be understood, right?
Well, those texts talk about the deaths, using the word death of Tylee and JJ. It talks about their death percentage, and both Tylee and JJ ended up being murdered. So if that's context, then that's the conclusion I draw, yes.
Okay, so what you're referring to are the text message where a numeric number was assigned to particular children about death percentages, correct?
Assigned by Chad Daybell, yes.
Right. Now, we talked a little earlier, and that's why I'm leading into this with you. And you could probably help me a little bit. My recollection is you were talking something about Allie Bloomer, right?
Yes, that's the second slide.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's actually the third slide, isn't it?
Oh.
Can you go to the third one? You threw me off, right?
It starts on the second slide, and then it continues to the third slide.
So you talked about the fact that because Chad Daybell put a numeric number on the children, that was the reason they were killed, right?
No, I wouldn't state it that way, that was the reason they were killed.
Okay. That supported your theory that they were killed because they were put a dark number on them, right?
I believe the dark number provided the justification for them to carry out those acts.
Okay. Okay, so when we go down to line 3000, would you read that one for me, the first two sentences?
Yes. Allie Bloomer is 4.1 dark. Her cop husband is 3 dark.
Okay. Now, to your knowledge, are Allie Bloomer and her husband dead?
To my knowledge, they are not.
Okay. So when you assign a number dark, explain this. I mean, you probably know better than I do. Is this something that's part of the LDS faith?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Guys, I didn't even realize I'm not on the screen. In my program, I'm on the screen, and then I look and I'm not. Can you hear me?
Is there a
Yeah, we can hear
reference
you.
in the LDS faith to light and dark?
Like in our program, I could.
Light and dark.
Is your camera off?
Not what's on.
Yes, there's reference throughout the Bible and the LDS faith to light and dark.
So if there was previous testimony by someone who suggested that light and dark is not part of the LDS faith, they're either mistaken or they're not being truthful. Would that be fair?
I don't think light and dark, as assigned by Chad Daybell, is part of the LDS faith.
That's not what I asked you, sir, and I appreciate you answering that way. What I asked you is that there is light and dark in the LDS faith, right?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Overruled.
Okay. It's overruled. There's a light and dark in the LDS faith, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're talking about is that there's a numeric system here. Is that what you're telling me? That Mr. Daybell's using?
There is a numeric system that Mr. Daybell is using.
Okay, and you've never seen this with anybody else ever putting a numeric system on light and dark, correct?
I have not.
Okay. Okay. And Allie Bloomer and her cop husband are not dead, right? To your knowledge?
To my knowledge, they are not.
Okay. So do you know how this dark numbering system works? Is high good or is low good, or how does that work on the dark spectrum?
From what I've been able to decipher based on my participation in the investigation, the higher the number, the worse it is.
Okay. So if you're a 1 dark, that you're better off being a 1 dark than you are being a 4 dark, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right.
This is bizarre. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna try something real quick. I can't believe this whole time I've been looking at myself on the stream. I'm like, guys, everything is normal, and I'm not in there. So let me see if this works.
I mean, you've been on for a vast majority. It's like in the last just couple of minutes where it's got your little picture there. We've lost Jay. We've lost Jay. We've lost communication with the mothership. Oh, there we go.
Judge, could I have exhibits 6 and 7?
Yes, I'll have the bailiff bring those over.
Am I on now?
You are. You're on.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know.
Wow, do you have a Bob moment there, buddy?
I thought that whole time, like in the program, I'm looking at myself, and then people were like, "Where's Jay?"
Bob moment.
I had to sign into the studio.
And if you could just bear with me.
I'm just glad it didn't end the whole thing because I thought that was going to happen.
What was the issue?
Talk about a couple.
I don't know. The program.
While I'm waiting this to warm up a little bit, we'll move on and talk about a couple of other topics while I'm. It talked about manipulation, right? From both Chad and Lori.
Yes.
Now,
Mr. Pryor, just on the exhibit you've got continually being published there, if you're done with that, would you remove it from being published?
Yeah, Brooklyn's right. It's a portal malfunction.
Portal.
Speaking of Brooklyn, another Brooklyn
now
Janet
your testimony is that you felt that Chad
just got a dog bed off that my dogs desperately need off my wish list. So thank you so much, Brooklyn Janet, if you're here.
was using his religious knowledge or beliefs to manipulate Lori Vallow, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So he was suggesting that because he has so much insight that he's, with these religious insights, that he's able to convince Lori Vallow to stay with him because he has religious insight. Is that correct?
He was looked to as the visionary for this small group, and in that capacity, yes, used that to keep Lori Vallow in a relationship with him.
And the small group you're talking about, who did you discover was in this small group?
The inner circle is really a trio of Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, and Alex Cox.
Anybody else?
That's what I would refer to as the inner circle. There were others that were more peripheral.
Holy shit. I just got $100 PayPal from Viv. Art with Viv.
Wow. That's amazing.
The real MVP. Thanks for being the real deal. I'm not letting YouTube get any of this money. Viv, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you guys aren't following Viv's YouTube, you should be, because it's a great, she does art tutorials. It's awesome. Viv, thank you so much. She is the best, Cabo.
And she's like just a wonderful human being.
So kind and so supportive.
Okay. And when you say more peripheral, shared some of the same religious views that Chad Daybell has.
Yes, I would describe them as adherents to Chad Daybell's doctrines.
How many of those do you talk about that are peripheral people that were adhering to it?
Six to 10.
Okay. Would Melanie Gibb be included in that group?
Yes.
David Warwick?
Yes.
Zaluma Pastenes?
Yes.
Okay. Melanie Boudreau?
Yes.
So this wasn't a large group of people then?
No, Chad Daybell spoke at a lot of conferences, and those were larger, but I don't, I can't speak to how his message was received by those people.
And when you say Chad Daybell spoke at these conferences, you touched on it a little before, that maybe Lori Vallow wasn't believing everything that Chad was saying about this religious stuff, right?
No, I don't believe I said that. I do believe she believed pretty much everything that Chad Daybell said.
Okay. And maybe what you testified to is that you questioned the accuracy of it in one of the text messages that you put up on the board. Do you recall saying something about that? No?
I don't, if you can direct me to this particular message.
So Chad Daybell started writing these books well before she ever met Lori Vallow. He met Lori Vallow, correct?
Yes.
And he wrote these books about his experiences and about his theories and interpretation of what he felt was the teachings of the LDS faith, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Introduces facts, not an evidence. I believe counsel's testifying.
Sustained.
Well, he wrote a lot of books about religious issues, correct?
Yes, I think most of his books had to do with kind of an end of times theme.
Hmm.
And he would go on these various go to various places and speak about his books and try to sell books.
Correct.
This was sort of a way to market or to make a living by talking about various religious feelings about religion, and then he'd go on and speak to people, and then in the meantime try to make a living or try to make money selling these books to people, right?
Yes.
And the predominant audience that he would go to, these encampments, these gatherings, these various locales, for the most part, they were centered around Utah, correct?
No, I mostly, St. George, Mesa, there was one in Boise.
Right.
So the Intermountain West.
And you beat me to the punch, because I was about to start with Utah, then say Arizona, then say Idaho. But, the predominant audience that these books were marketing to were people in Utah, Arizona, Idaho, correct?
That's where he spoke, yes.
And they were predominantly marketed to people of the LDS faith, right?
I think so.
And they were marketed to the people who would want to go to these various seminars about preparing for the end of time, right?
Yes.
And these people weren't all members of a cult, were they?
Not to my knowledge.
And there were various audiences who would show up and listen to Chad Daybell talk and sell his books, right?
Yes.
So the fact that he has Lori Vallow, Alex Cox, Melanie Gibb, and David Warwick, who were friends of his, right?
Well, I think the relationship with Alex Cox and Lori Vallow was closer than it was different than those other names that you mentioned, and closer than friendship.
Right. But let's take, and we'll talk a little bit about the Alex Cox-Lori Vallow relationship, but as far as the other were concerned, all of the emails and all of the text messages, that you talked about, they had a recurring theme. These people were friends, right?
Yes.
And these friends talked about religious beliefs, correct?
Yes.
And these religious beliefs may not be what everybody else believes in, but they seem to have a consistent theme, and they were all consistent in believing whatever Lori, Chad, David, and Melanie were talking about. Would that be fair?
I think that's fair.
Okay. So when you talk about a group, we're really talking about a group of friends who have some, maybe not traditional beliefs, but have religious beliefs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the text I put up there from Lori to Chad, and it's the one, line 836. Wait. Let me know when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
You okay? You all set?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you take that as being would you take that as being in somewhat of a sarcastic tone?
No, I think Lori was pushing Chad and was serious.
Okay. So you should give all of your love and your attention to your wife and family. That's what she's saying, right?
Yes.
I'm just a distraction. Go have fun with your family. There's nothing sarcastic about that?
Well, if you look at Chad Daybell's reaction, which is that is so crushing and I feel so destroyed inside, I don't think he took it as being sarcastic.
Okay. I really do want you to. I just can't be in the way anymore. If things change, then we can talk. But we have nothing until things change. So she's basically drawing a line in the sand and saying, unless something changes, we have nothing to do with each other. Would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. So what she's doing is she's saying that unless something happens, either you divorce your wife or you kill your wife or your wife dies, you don't have me.
I agree.
Okay. And then Chad responds, I'm constantly begging for change below. You see that?
I do.
But I'm hindering your life and you deserve better. I love you so intensely. Okay. You see that?
I do.
The text following that, did any of them say, all right, I agree with you, Lori. Let's kill Tammy. You find any of those?
I found a number of texts talking about Tammy's death percentage in subsequent conversations.
Yeah. You're also aware that Chad Daybell, maybe you're not, but are you aware that since 2016, Chad Daybell had been talking to these public audiences about the fact that Tammy was going to have a very short life?
I was aware that he made those statements to particular individuals. I'm not aware that he spoke of that publicly, but yes, I know that he communicated that Tammy was going to die to a number of people.
Right. And these other individuals are friends and family of Chad Daybell, who are also friends and family of Tammy Daybell, correct?
That I don't know. I can tell you the ones that I do know that he spoke with.
Okay.
And I'm not aware that they knew Tammy.
Okay. So it wasn't necessarily a secret that Chad was keeping with anybody since 2016, that he felt he had a premonition or a belief that his wife was going to have a short life, right?
There were certain people he communicated that to, correct.
Right. And when I'm reading through the text messages, and you went through your presentation, am I wrong when I'm reading these messages to read into this that Chad was waiting for Tammy to pass away, and that was what the delay was, correct?
He's got to answer it. I mean, the answer is
It
correct.
could be that, or it could be waiting to take action.
Okay. So we don't know what it was, right?
Prior his rebounding.
From the investigation, I believe I know what it was.
Okay. Well, people differ in their opinions, right?
They do?
Yeah.
Jancy, long before Chad even knew Lori, he had been saying that, as a prophet, that he knew that Tammy was going to have a short life, like long before he knew Lori.
The sound go up? What the hell's going on? Oh,
Yes.
that was weird.
And Judge, could we approach for just a minute?
Yes.
This is a really interesting cross. Hart's holding up, but Pryor's making some points. It's like exactly what I told you. Like the way I construed those messages were not helpful to the case against Chad, because it really puts Lori in the light of the manipulator, and Hart's doing the best that he can to try to interpret it a different way, but I mean, like, just on its face, they appear to me to be super manipulative. I mean, this is what I was saying when we were covering Lori's trial. I mean, I always felt that she was the manipulator, that she was the run. She was just spinning Chad in circles, man, and like,
What I find interesting is that we already have our boots in the ground who told us the jury from pretty much the beginning did not like Pryor. So what I think is going to be interesting is this is an FBI agent. I mean, I'm fairly sure the jury is going to look at this guy as like an FBI agent who was really trying his hardest to get justice. And now this guy Pryor, and I think he's answering respectfully. He's the witness, but like now they see this guy Pryor who they don't like. They got this FBI agent who they probably do like, who's trying to get justice. Now Pryor's kind of like going back at him, like, how are they going to like that? Are they not going to like that? Like,
I mean,
are they going to accept if he's making points?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
when they already have a dislike for him, that's
that's $1 million question. I mean, they should. Like, it's not a popularity contest,
right?
In theory, but in real life,
right?
It is. Like the real question in this case is how much did these jurors know? I mean, you covered quite a bit of the the jury selection. Like, what vibe were you getting in terms of like who landed on the jury? Did you feel like
I mean, that was
if you have jurors that don't know anything about this story, man, like if they don't know jack shit about any of it.
I think they got everyone out for cause or that knew anything. I think that there's like they may have heard like they may have heard news stories about it, but like I don't think anyone who got in knew a decent amount about the case. I could be wrong, but I mean there were 3 like questions they kept asking. It was knowledge of it, death penalty, bias. So I forgot the other one was, but I think they did a good job of getting. I think whether they did or not, but I don't think most people on the jury have a lot of background on the case.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like if you're looking at it from that perspective, like all of us in the chat, we all know the whole backstory, so it's like it's impossible for us to look at it objectively. We're all looking at it subjectively because we all know Chad's a piece of shit, and we all know that like Chad had a hand in this, so but like if you've got jurors that don't know the whole backstory, it's not that way. You know what I mean? They're able to look at it more objectively. And when you see that's why I was saying, like, had the state not put those up, that could have been an issue of like, do we front these messages? Because they're not particularly, because the state's smart. They know. I mean, oftentimes if we have things that we know are going to be problematic, we'll front them on the front end as opposed to like just saying, we're not going to even put it up, because of course Pryor would have the ability to put it up as well, even if they chose not to. So the more likely scenario is the state's like, all right, we're going to have to address these. They obviously don't look great against against the case against Chad, but we've got to try to adjust them. And Hart's the best guy to do it. I mean, he's holding up, and like, yeah, it's like these are tough questions for Hart to answer, because he doesn't want to affect his credibility. Like sometimes you just have to be like, well, yeah, but like he's able to get out there that, but in the context of everything that we know that happened.
Right.
Like I don't have to read them because I understand that what the end game was here. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he's doing a very good job. Instead of just saying,
job of doing that,
and just say like some witness will just be like, if Pryor goes, well, it doesn't say that, does it? Some witness will be like, no, it doesn't. Where he is like, but no, I have. So I agree. I think he's doing a good job.
I mean, because he's got to give that, like he knows, like he doesn't have to look at him objectively. Like he was investigating the case, so like when he knows what the end result is, he's able to say, okay, well, like I know you're trying to tell me this was just him trying to market his bullshit books, but when we know what the end result was,
right?
Maybe a thumb drive that's having few issues because it wanted to pull files and then it didn't. So we'll see if it will.
And it's here.
Yeah.
Judge, I got it.
Okay. All right.
Prize. Magical words. You did it.
Never mind. Just to say, while they have these tech issues, just want to thank you everyone for being here. We really appreciate you. We know you have other options, so thanks for being here with us.
Previously admitted exhibit number 7.
All right. Once you have that pulled up on your screen, let us know. And then
Judge, I'm ready.
Okay. I'll instruct the clerk this time to allow that to be published then.
Okay. Now, you previously mentioned about Phoebe was your recollection was that it was Melanie Gibb. Is that correct?
I testified that I wasn't 100% certain of that, but I don't dispute that that's...
Okay. So at the top, this is a text message from Phoebe from the Lolly Time to Lori Vallow. Would you read the first line?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I love you so much. I'm going to teach right now, teaching about discerning and shutting off dark portals.
Okay, and then the one below that.
I could see the darkness so clearing last night when I was teaching last night. Their eyes were dark like marbles.
Okay, now the date of those messages was when?
July 25th
Still
of
here, Ken.
2019.
Were you aware during your investigation where Melanie Gibb was teaching on that particular occasion?
No, I'm not.
Okay. You are aware that Melanie Gibb taught classes, variety of different things about vibrations and about light and dark, correct?
I wasn't aware that she taught classes. I know there was a podcast and group discussions and things like that.
Right. She would go to encampments or she would go to programs and be a speaker talking about a variety of religious topics, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when Melanie Gibb talks about dark portals, is that something she's talking about that's consistent with the LDS faith to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. When she's talking about eyes being like dark marbles, is that also something that's consistent with being of the LDS faith?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Okay. And to avoid, and Judge, we can bring that down now. I'm done.
Love this comment from Jenny
But during your research,
Meow Meow. The expert and fun commentary, 100% why I like watching it here. Thank you so much, Jenny. And one thing me and Bob have talked about in a little bit, I just want to remind folks, me and Bob in the background can see like chats, both the chats, but like Jenny put that on Bob's chat, so I can't reply. So
Right.
we don't want you to think like we're ignoring you. Just like we can only respond to our respective chats, but we really appreciate you guys.
Like, and Jay's pretty good, like, because I can't throw comments up, but Jay's pretty good about getting comments, because a lot of times, like, when I see somebody in Jay's chat say something nice, I'll respond in my chat, and then Jay will typically toss it up there.
I told him, so you guys know he's responding to you.
Right.
research, there are other individuals that talked about putting numeric numbers on people with dark and light, right?
There was one single instance in all of my review where Lori Vallow disputed a designation made by Chad Daybell. So that's the only other time I'm aware of anyone else putting those numbers on individuals.
Okay, and all I want to do is just have you confirm then for me. In the review of all of those 10,000 plus text messages, are you telling me that other than Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, they were the only ones who talked about dark and light and put a numeric number on someone?
I am testifying that the only times I saw those numbers being generated, with the exception of one occasion, were all by Chad Daybell.
Okay, okay. And all of the people that were designated, well, so other than Chad Daybell, your testimony then is that nobody else put numeric numbers on people as it related to dark and light. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Sustained.
Okay.
Yeah, we love our lurkers too. So even if you don't comment, we appreciate you being here.
You brought up a subject about the process of sealing. Remember that in the very beginning of your testimony?
It's part of the James and Elena story, correct?
Right. But you also explained that what sealing is in your definition, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understood sealing to be part of a marriage process when two couples of the LDS faith go into a temple and they perform a private ceremony. Is that what you understand it to be as well?
Yes, when two people go to get married, correct.
Right. And that is a process in which, and I don't want to go into, we don't need to go into significant detail about this, but it's a religious symbolism to show that they have an intent of wanting to be together the rest of their life, right?
Correct.
And they're basically sealing themselves to each other in essence, right?
Correct.
Okay. Has nothing to do with death or anything like that. It has everything to do with the celebration of the marriage ceremony, correct?
It's a marriage ordinance that's performed in LDS temples.
Okay, all right. Okay. And Judge, I'm going to stop there. That's all I have at this point, Judge. Thank you.
All right, that will
Wow.
conclude cross-examination.
You were right,
of
Bob.
the
Not as long as
witness.
I anticipated.
Yeah.
Redirect from the state.
Morning, Yurts.
Fingers crossed for Zulema after this, but I guess we'll see.
One of those messages. Do you recall testifying about that before?
I do.
And you were asked specifically about it dealing with the marriage ceremony by Mr. Pryor, correct?
Yes.
And previously, did you testify that there are also sealings done for people that have passed away?
That's correct.
And when you referenced the James and Elena story, was that your understanding of what was being referenced at that time?
Judge, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
Was that your understanding of what was being referenced in the James and Elena story?
Yes, the sealings being referred to in the James and Elena story are what they call proxy, meaning that genealogical research is done and that a man and a woman go in and, based on historical records, if two people had been married, they then perform that marriage ceremony in their behalf. That the two people performing the ceremony aren't getting married, they're as stand-in for people based on genealogical research who are being sealed.
And at the time that was done, that was in the November of 2018?
November 16th of 2018.
And at that time, was Charles Vallow still alive?
No, he was not. Or excuse me, yes, he was. I'm sorry, I was thinking of 2019.
2019. So in November of 2018, Charles Vallow was still alive.
He was.
And in November of 2018, was Tammy Daybell still alive?
She was.
And is part of the idea behind the sealing that you would be married for eternity?
Judge, leading question.
Sustain.
When we looked at those messages, if you recall, was the indication that Chad believed or was indicating he and Lori would be married eternally?
That's precisely what was stated in Chad's writing.
Through your investigation, were you able to determine where the teachings of light and dark originated as far as this particular group of individuals you were asked about?
They originated from Chad Daybell.
And you indicated Melanie Gibb was one of the individuals that would have received those teachings?
I believe so, yes.
You were asked some questions about levels and light and dark, and specifically in reference to Allie Bloomer. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Was Allie Bloomer a telestial relative of Chad or Lori?
Not to my knowledge.
And we talked a little bit about that telestial relative, the meaning of that, and Mr. Pryor put that slide back up. You'd referenced that it is the lowest kingdom. Would that also be, would telestial refer here on earth?
Yes.
So the reference was the Telestial relatives were obstacles.
Correct.
Through your investigation, did you learn if Charles was ever deemed dark?
Charles Vallow,
Charles Vallow.
he was.
Did you ever learn whether Tylee Ryan was deemed dark?
She was.
Did you ever learn whether JJ Vallow was deemed dark?
He was deemed to have turned into a zombie, which
Judge, unresponsive.
Overruled.
is parallel to being dark, being inhibited by a dark entity.
And what about Tammy Daybell? Did you ever learn whether she was deemed dark?
Again, she was deemed to have been inhibited by a dark entity.
And based on your investigation and looking through these messages, who was the one that would determine if someone was light or dark?
Chad Daybell.
And of those 4 relatives that we talked about, are you aware of their current status?
All 4 are dead.
I have no further questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blake. I don't think we got outside the scope of cross there or direct, so won't permit recross for this witness. That will conclude the testimony of Agent Hart. Is he going to be recalled potentially by either side?
He is going to be recalled by the state, Your Honor.
Oh,
And he's going to be called by the defense as well, Judge.
All right,
Ooh.
Agent
wow.
Hart, going forward, then you're still under the court.
All right, we know
Your
this.
test when you retake order. Yes, I'll have the bailiff retrieve that exhibit, please.
Let's see who's coming up next.
We'll intend to go forward till lunch. Does the state have another witness to call at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would call Sydney Woodbury Shank.
What?
The shank.
The Shankster. Come
Shank.
on down.
That's always in my mind what witnesses look like when they come into the courtroom.
What is this?
Or affirm the testimony
No.
you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I don't know who Shawshank is here.
The Shankinator.
The Shankmeister.
The Shankster.
All right, before you know,
Shankorama.
the witness has been placed under oath at this time, so I am going
Get in
to
the
inquire.
coffee.
This case has been live streamed and available for view by the public in general or anyone interested. So, Ms. Woodbury Shank, have you watched this trial or observed any of the trial testimony since the trial began?
No.
Jay, pause it
Okay.
real quick,
Have you discussed with anyone else?
please and thank you. Tina Vegas, defense diaries, do you have to read Miranda rights to a suspect you were questioning in a murder investigation? Now, are you asking law enforcement or does a defense attorney have to like defense attorneys never have to read a Miranda? We're not government agents. Miranda relates to government agents, and it depends. If it's a suspect and it's an interrogation or the suspect is in custody, meaning that they feel like they're not free to leave, yes, they have to read them their Miranda rights. It's best practice for law enforcement to just read Miranda and like get a jury waiver or a waiver of rights form signed. I mean, it's like if you read guidelines from like state police agencies in terms of their officers, they tell them just do it. Like I get why they don't do it, because cops are looking at like, this is the one and only shot that I'm going to have to get this guy to talk. So sometimes they'll push that limitation in terms of like, has it moved from just a questioning, and a conversation, or has it moved from, because like typically cops will say, look, you're free to leave. We're not keeping you here, in order to kind of offset the fact that it's custodial in nature. So I don't know, Tina, if that's what your question was, but defense attorneys never have to read Miranda to any witnesses or suspects that they're talking to ever. If that's what you're asking. If you're asking the other thing, the answer would be yes in that particular situation. All right.
My mom just came in and gave it a membership. Thank you so much, Mom. And then I feel like we have a hacker in the chat because this person, Eric, this is the second time that they've posted with different fonts. I've never seen anyone have different fonts on the tubes of you. Eric here has figured it out. I don't know what the secret is, but
I love that.
It's so cool. But let's see what the Shankmeister has to say.
Else your testimony, anyone that has testified in this case?
No.
All right. Thank you for your responses then, Mr. Wood. If you'd like to inquire on direct, you may.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Could you state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yeah, it's Sydney Shank, Schenk.
Me too, Jenny. Shawshank's actually my favorite movie.
Ms. Shank, what state do you currently reside in?
I currently reside in Arizona.
Oh.
Did you, have you ever lived in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes, in 2019, I lived in Rexburg, Idaho.
What were you doing there?
I was attending college at Brigham Young University, Idaho.
What's this going to be about?
Were you working at the time?
I was not.
Okay. Were you looking for work?
Yes.
What kind of work were you looking for?
I, in the past, have nannied and babysat. I enjoy watching kids, so I went on a website called care.com looking for a job opportunity to be a nanny.
Another font.
Through care.com, did you ever meet a Lori Vallow?
Yes. So I posted a job listing that I wanted to nanny, and she replied to my listing, and we got in contact on the website, and then later messaged through text and set up a time for me to come meet her and her son JJ.
Where did you meet her?
I met them at her townhome in Rexburg.
And do you remember approximately when you met her?
Yeah, it was September 18th.
And did you, through that conversation, did you learn if JJ had any special needs?
Yes. So she mentioned, yeah, he has autism and that he had difficulty focusing at times and had some behavioral difficulties at times. And
she's got the fun.
He needed extra help.
When you met with her, did she say anything about her husband?
She did. She mentioned, as we got to know each other, that they had just moved to Rexburg from Arizona and that her husband recently passed away from a heart attack and that JJ was kind of struggling to understand that.
Did she tell you anything else about JJ?
Not really that day, just, yeah, that he had autism and some difficulties.
Did she speak with you at all about a daughter named Tylee?
She didn't mention her name, but she did say she had a daughter that was living in town, attending college, and that sometimes she would come to visit and do laundry or come home for dinner, and sometimes would babysit, but that she didn't like babysitting without being paid, and so she wanted someone else to come in and help her.
And so, from your understanding, was this daughter living in a separate location than Lori Vallow?
From what I understood, yes.
And this was on September 18th of 2019?
Yes.
Did she hire you to watch JJ?
Yes. So we had discussed coming in the future and coming the next day. She needed to go to the airport to pick up a friend. And she needed some help watching him just for a few hours. So I came the next day on the 8th or the 19th to watch JJ.
Did she, and approximately how many hours did you watch him that day?
I want to say 3 to 4 hours.
Did Lori say anything to you about JJ's medications?
She did. She, when I arrived, explained like what to feed him and some activities to do. And then also that if she got home later, that I could give him some medication to help him sleep.
So tell us about watching JJ. What do you remember about that experience?
I remember him playing with the neighbor kids the majority of the time, and it was going fine. He was a fun kid, and he eventually went over to the next door neighbor's house to play, and I fed him some dinner before he left. And eventually his mom was going to come home soon, so I went back and picked him up from the friend's house. And he seemed really upset and just sad. They had a little tiff about sharing toys or something, and he was pretty upset. And I tried to calm him down best I could, but he had some behavioral difficulties calming down and was getting a bit aggressive and angry.
Okay. Did you have any other contact with Lori Vallow that night?
I did. So she came home from the airport with her friend, and her brother was there, and she tried to help me calm down JJ. And just in the midst of kind of him freaking out, I just left and she paid me. Yeah.
Did you have any further communications with Lori Vallow?
I did. So a couple days later, I messaged her again, hoping to work again. This, from my understanding, was going to be a longer term job that I could work for her few times a week as she needed it. And asked when I could come back, and she said that JJ went with his grandparents for a month, and that she was in Hawaii for a month, and that after that month had passed, I could reach out to her again to reschedule another time to babysit.
And did you ever try to do that?
I did. Yeah, I called her and texted her and never got a response back. From that point on, I didn't speak with her at all.
So you never heard from her again?
No.
Did Lori Vallow ever mention the name Chad Daybell to you?
No.
So you, through your contact with her, you never heard of a Chad Daybell?
No, never.
Your Honor, that's all the questions the state has for now.
All right. Mr. Pryor,
The hell was the
cross-examination.
purpose of that?
Do you have a recollection of about what time Lori Vallow returned home?
I don't know for sure, but it was around dinner times, probably around 5 or 6 at night.
Okay, you mentioned that it was about 3 or 4 hours that you watched JJ, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you, and this was Thursday, right?
Yes.
And then what time did you arrive to start the babysitting?
I don't know for sure, but must have been 4 hours before that. So around maybe 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't know for sure though.
And you mentioned that you fed JJ that day. You fed him dinner.
Yes, yeah.
Is it possible it was after dinner?
That what was after dinner?
When Lori Vallow returned?
Yes, yeah.
So you don't know about what time after dinner, though?
No, not for sure.
Okay. Okay. Now, before you started babysitting JJ that day, Lori warned you about some behavioral problems, right?
Yes, yeah.
Warned you how to distract him, do things to distract him, show him a show.
Yeah.
Or keep him preoccupied because JJ suffered from a form of autism, from what I understand, correct? Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And when Lori left, did she leave with anybody?
Yes, she left with her brother.
Do you remember what his name was?
I believe it was Alex.
Okay. And do you know about what time they left?
I would guess around 1 o'clock. Shortly after I arrived, they left.
Okay. Okay. And they were going to pick up a friend on Thursday that day, correct?
Correct.
And do you know the name of that friend that they were going to pick up Thursday afternoon?
I did not.
Did you happen to see her when she arrived?
Yes.
Can you describe what color her hair was?
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
But from what I remember, I want to say blonde.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't remember for sure.
And a slender lady.
Yeah.
Did anybody mention the name Melanie by any chance?
I can't say for sure. I don't remember.
At some point later, did you find out who that other friend was?
No.
Okay. And you noted I read the officer's report about the interview with you. You noted that she came in and she didn't have any luggage with her.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that struck you as kind of odd.
Yes. I didn't know how long she was staying, so, or maybe she left it in the car. I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
Yeah.
But she didn't come in with the luggage, right?
No.
Okay. Okay. And you noted that there were some behavioral problems with JJ right off the beginning, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Something about going upstairs and he knocked a mirror on the bed or something?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
He was just kind of freaking out. And when we came home from the friend's house, he kind of threw like the ottoman and a chair down. And then he ran upstairs and wanted space. And I heard something fall and it was the mirror. So I went up to check on him to make sure that he was okay. And I saw that, yeah, it was broken.
So from what I understand, you're telling me is that Lori Vallow warned you ahead of time that JJ had some behavioral problems.
Correct.
Maybe not to the extent you experienced, though, right?
Yeah.
And this was a handful of activity with JJ, right?
Correct.
Throwing a lot of things, correct?
Yes.
Misbehaving, tantrums,
Yes.
throwing things upstairs, throwing things downstairs.
Vicky says, did someone slow the feed down to 0.5? No, I didn't. And that just makes me think of the whiplash we're all going to feel when we start watching the Karen retrial in Boston. I feel like it's going to be a different situation.
Yes.
Climbing up and down all over the furniture.
Fast, East Coast talkers.
And this was on the 18th, Thursday, the 18th of September. And you were alone with JJ when all of this was going on, right?
It was the 19th.
I'm sorry, the 19th, Thursday, the 19th.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then at that point, after you had sort of straightened things up in Lori's house, you went over to pick him up with the friend, right?
No, he was upset and throwing stuff after the friend's house.
Okay. But before he started throwing the stuff, he was over at a friend's.
Correct.
And was there a little bit of drama over there as well?
Correct.
Talk about that with me a little bit. What kind of drama did we have while he was over at the friend's house?
From what I remember, they were just upset about a toy or sharing a toy.
Okay.
And JJ had a hard time doing that.
Okay. So and I'm bouncing around for a reason, so please bear with me. When the person who showed up from the airport on the 19th, the only people in the house at that point would have been the person they picked up at the airport, Alex Cox, Lori Vallow, and JJ, right?
Correct. Yes.
And at no point during that time did you ever see anybody else at the house. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. You never heard anybody mention the name Chad Daybell, did you?
No.
Okay. Now, were you aware that JJ and Tylee had a very close relationship?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
aware.
But interestingly, you noted to the officer that when
look at Caveman Bob. Look at him using the new font.
When Lori and her friend and Alex got home, you told Lori about, JJ's behavior.
Correct.
And to some extent, it was still going on, correct?
That's correct.
And at that point, you made note of the fact that Lori seemed to be acting in a particular way towards JJ, right?
Correct.
And you said it appeared to be a little overwhelming. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I felt, and maybe I was judging, but I felt as if she was too comforting to him and didn't try to correct that behavior. Because to me, throwing chairs and breaking stuff isn't an appropriate behavior. And instead of correcting that, she was more just emotionally there for him and like being very sweet and kind to him, which I guess is a loving mother. But to me, that was a little strange that she wouldn't correct that inappropriate behavior.
Right. And you viewed her behavior as over nurturing?
Yeah,
She went over the top.
correct.
She was cuddling him too much.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And all of this behavior that you saw, the active behavior by JJ at that time, did that continue on while you were there? Lori was there, Alex, and this other person?
He seemed to calm down a little more once she came,
Okay.
and it improved a little.
Okay. And lastly, while you were there, the person that they picked up at the airport, when all of this behavior was going on and you were trying to explain to Lori, did the person who they picked up at the airport, did she ever use the word zombie?
No,
Did Lori Vallow at that time ever use the word zombie to describe Alex's erratic behavior?
no,
Did Alex Cox ever use the word zombie to describe JJ's erratic behavior?
no,
Did anyone in that house at the time, when JJ was acting up, use the word zombie?
no,
Did you ever hear the words from JJ using the words zombie?
no.
I have nothing else.
All right.
Nothing on redirect.
All right, that concludes the testimony of this witness then. Thank you for appearing today. Will this witness be recalled by either side?
Not by the state.
Conclude your testimony, then you may be released. Thank you for appearing today.
The state would call Dr. Josh Wilson.
Okay.
I'm not sure why the state called her.
Yeah, me either.
Witness has been sworn and taken the stand. I am going to inquire on the court's channel, and I want to inquire, have you observed any of this trial testimony before you took the stand today?
No, Judge.
Okay, have you discussed with anyone else their testimony that's been given in this trial?
No, Judge.
Okay, thank you for your responses. Ms. Beatty, if you'd like to inquire, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Wilson, can you please state your full name and spell your last name?
David Joshua Wilson, Wilson.
And you go by Josh?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you currently employed?
Madison School District in Rexburg, Idaho.
And what is your job title there?
I'm a building principal for Kennedy Elementary.
And Kennedy Elementary School is in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes.
Were you employed as the principal of Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg in 2019?
Yes.
Do you recall a former student named Joshua Jackson or JJ Vallow?
Yes.
When, if you recall, did JJ enroll at Kennedy Elementary?
The beginning of September, I believe September 3rd was his first day of 2019.
Do you recall who, if anyone, accompanied JJ to enroll him in school?
Yes, his mother, Lori.
What, if anything, did his mother, Lori, tell you about JJ's enrollment?
That they were moving from Arizona. Her husband had just passed away from a heart attack, and that they were moving to Rexburg to be closer to family.
How long was JJ enrolled at Kennedy Elementary?
3 weeks. I believe his last day was September 21st.
And do you recall having any communication with Lori Vallow or anyone else about JJ's enrollment at Kennedy Elementary?
Yes. Mom had contacted the school. We were trying to get a hold of her to finish some assessments. JJ had special needs, and so we were in the process of finishing up assessments to see how we could help him be successful at school. We were trying to get a hold of Mom to finish that up, and mom had informed us that they were moving, or that JJ would be moving to Louisiana.
And just really quickly, how did she communicate that to you?
Over the phone.
Okay. So, and what else did she tell you, if anything?
During that conversation, I had indicated that once they get over to Louisiana, just have that school that they enroll into request records, and we would be happy to pass those along. She then indicated that they weren't going to enroll in public school, that they were going to homeschool, that they had a cousin with similar needs, and that they would be homeschooling. And then I informed her that we would house JJ's records there at Kennedy, and whenever they chose to enroll in public school again, whether it be back in Rexburg or somewhere else, that's where the records would be.
And at any time after that conversation, did you receive any requests for JJ Vallo's records?
No.
Okay. And Your Honor, if I may have just a moment.
Yes.
Another short witness.
And Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Any cross-examination, Mr. Pryor?
Refer you as principal, or how can I refer to you?
Sure. Principal.
Principal?
Yep.
Okay. So principal, from what I understand, the discussion with Miss Vallow was by way of a phone conversation. Is that right?
Correct.
Did at any time was a child enrolled in the school at Kennedy Elementary?
Yes.
And did that child attend the school?
Yes.
And for how long a time did that child attend the school?
About 3 weeks.
Okay. And during that initial phone conversation with Miss Vallow, did the name Chad Daybell ever come up?
No.
Did you ever see Chad Daybell at the school picking JJ up?
No.
Did you ever have any mention of any kind whatsoever in the 3 weeks that JJ Vallow was at your school of the name Chad Daybell?
No.
I have nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Any redirect?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. That will conclude the testimony of this witness. Is the state intending to recall the witness?
And no, Your Honor, he can be excused.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thanks for testifying. You're excused from any subpoena, and you can step down. Thank you.
They are really blowing through some witnesses here, huh?
Yeah. So I think what those last two witnesses are, because if you don't know, the kids just kind of
They have another witness lined up.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would call Wynn Hill.
They really don't know the date in which they were unalived. So
the troops to help you back.
I think they're using like when Lori pulled JJ out of school. Obviously, we heard the witness. Melanie was testifying about that night. But we didn't hear.
Mr. Hill, now that you've been placed under oath, let me just ask you a few questions.
Alex carrying JJ out of the townhouse in his
before you
pajamas.
testify.
Yeah, other than Melanie.
Because this case is being broadcast and in on any of the testimony they provided.
No.
All right, thank you. Ms. Beatty, you can inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your full name and then spell your last name?
Yeah. My name is Wynn Hill, Hill.
And sir, where are you employed?
At Brigham Young University, Idaho.
And where is that located?
At Rexburg, Idaho.
How long have you been employed by Brigham Young University, Idaho?
Yeah, I've been there 18 years.
What is your current job title there?
I'm a therapist in the counseling center.
And prior to being a therapist in the counseling center, did you have a different job title?
I did. I was the dean of students there. Yeah.
Were you the dean of students in 2019 and early 2020?
I was.
And in February, well, let me back up a little bit. As dean of students, did you have access to a student file management system?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have a student management system. Yes.
Does that system allow you to look at it to determine who is currently enrolled?
Yes.
Does that system allow you to look at who may have been enrolled in the past?
Yes.
Does it allow you to look at who may have applied to the school and not necessarily enrolled?
Yeah. Anyone who starts an application, yes.
Were you contacted by law enforcement in February of 2020 to do a records check on an individual named Tylee Ryan?
I was, yes.
Did you check that individual in the student file management system?
I did, yeah. They asked me to check the name Tylee Ryan, Tylee Vallows, and Tylee Cox, date of birth 9/24/02, and I did check that, yes.
Were you able to determine if this individual was a current student?
Yes, they weren't. In fact, we had no record of any of those names.
Did you have any record that this individual had ever even applied to
No.
BYU, Idaho?
Nothing.
Okay. If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Ooh, man. Short ones. Quick ones, Jay.
And Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness.
Burgers.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Beatty. Mr. Pryor, cross-examination.
Did you ever have an occasion to talk to Lori Vallow on the phone?
No.
Did you ever discuss an application with anybody? Alex Cox, Lori Vallow?
Nope.
Did you ever discuss an application, or did anybody in your organization discuss an application with a Tylee Ryan?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and obviously you'd never heard the name Chad Daybell in relation to any application process for Tylee Ryan. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, nothing else. Thank you.
See ya.
Intend to recall the witness.
No, Judge. No.
No, Your Honor.
And you can go ahead and step down from the witness stand.
Approach.
Yes.
I'm guessing they don't have another witness before lunch. Otherwise, they would just call them, but maybe not.
AAA Legal Focus. Welcome.
Hey, Judy.
Just in a side. All right, I discussed in a sidebar with counsel scheduling for the day. The morning's gone more quickly than the state anticipated in terms of lining up their witnesses. We're going to take the lunch recess at this time. We will take a longer break today in order to allow for appearance of afternoon witnesses. So the lunch recess will begin and we will come back on for additional testimony at 1 o'clock. Does that work with the state
Yes, Your Honor.
defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. We'll be in recess until then.
All right, please.
All right, so that's like an hour and a half, folks.
They confessed.
I wonder if they got a big witness now after these small witnesses, like Zulema. I guess we shall.
Zulema would be great. Zulema would be a great witness for us to pivot on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get some juiciness.
Let me see, actually, if there's any updates on Karen Reed's jury from what I see. No, I don't see anything, guys. So we'll let you know if we see anything as far as they need 4 more. But if anyone else sees anything, let me know. Am I not on the screen again?
Yeah, you're not on the screen.
Son of a bitch!
Son of a bitch! Son of a bitch!
In the program, do you see me right by?
I see your little head, your little pick. I hear you perfectly. Your camera's not on though.
Still nothing. Still comes up with the.
That's weird, dude.
Let me try one other thing. No, that's not gonna do it. Let me try switching it to my dog cam. So tell me if do you see
works. Dog cam works.
So you could see dog cam.
Can see dog cam.
Now if I bring it back to me. Oh, now my wait, let's see now. Am I still not on?
You're still not on. It's still on. It's still on dog cam.
It's still on dog cam.
Still on dog cam. Wow. It's like me figuring out the whole font thing, and now you can't get on camera. I feel like I've passed my tech virus onto you.
This is wild.
Welcome to the world of tech ignorance. It's a great place to be.
Man. All right. Well,
We got an hour and a half to figure it out, bro.
yeah, I'm gonna work on this, folks.
Well, hopefully, when we have to create the new stream, it resolves things.
I hope so. Is
It's
it
like
now
going
just?
to the old TV boxes? Remember, you just slap them on the side like that.
I gotta take out the cartridge, the Nintendo, blow on the cartridge. Yeah. What is it right now? Is it my logo? Or is
It's
it like
your
my
logo
my
and your
face?
voice. That's
Okay.
it.
All right. Sorry, guys. I don't know what the hell's going on. Chad's head is blocking my camera all the way from Idaho. I don't know.
Exactly. The Chad Clips strikes again.
All right. So I guess we'll be back in what is it, one and a half hours here?
Something like that. Yeah, Lazy Susan. I mentioned that early. It doesn't appear that they have shuttled the entire jury that they've selected. It appears that they're moving on. I don't, because I had heard the same thing over the weekend, Lazy Susan, that one of the jurors came on to Turtle Boy's stream and said that she was aware that at least one juror had lied about having knowledge about the case to stay on. So as far as what Jay's been able to see, it does not appear that it has become an issue. So, I mean, we'll keep an eye on that, though.
Yeah. All right. So keep your notifications on. Thank you all so much for being here.
We love you guys. We will see you for the afternoon sesh, and everyone go get yourself some food. If you're other side of the pond, maybe take a little power nap if you're going to hang with us, and we'll see you in a bit.